Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He's Zach Goodman. Today's show brought to you by PressBox Offers. Baseball season is here, and for the first time in history, you can bet from your phone in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for the best sportsbook offers and incentives so you can start winning today. Get up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus match plus a $50 free bet with DraftKings. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to claim your incentive. Orioles taking on the Detroit Tigers last night, getting the victory 2-1 on a walk-off fielder's choice grounder from Adam Frazier. The Orioles, winners of 4 in a row and 8 of their last 10, improved to 12-7 and second place in the American League East. Zach, Tyler Wells, really good last night. 7 innings pitched, no runs allowed, just the 1 walk. He looked every bit as good as he's ever looked last night. The bullpen came in, and they were pretty staunch again, although Felix Bautista blows that save there in the top of the 9th inning. Offense has gone cold. Cold. They've scored 7 runs in their last 3 games. Ryan Mountcastle had the base hit to start off things in the 9th with 1 out, but he's now, 2 for his last 25. Adley Rutschman, 1 for his last 19. Actually, no, I think he's 1 for his last 23. But just not...
That's my fault. I picked him for take the Rake.
Yeah,
so that's my fault.
I blame you, yeah, SOB. But it's it is awesome that this team, despite the offensive woes and the shortcomings, have won 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Offense goes cold, and they just start. The pitching just suddenly steps up. 34 2/3 scoreless innings before Bautista gives up that RBI base hit to Javi freaking Baez.
Yeah.
And that's your fault, too, because you were just talking about how bad Javi Baez has been and how bad the Tigers are. Then they win 5 in a row, and Javi Baez gets the game-tying base hit last night.
I'm going to blame it on the guy behind me at the game last night. He was screaming, "Bum, bum, Javi Baez is a bum!" And Javi Baez could definitely hear him because it just wasn't...
The guy behind you, or was that you?
No, it was definitely not me.
That was you.
Look, I'm not a big Javi Baez guy, but that was not me. So I'm going to blame it on the guy behind me. And yeah, Javi Baez has been one of the league's worst hitters this year. He has been. His OPS was 500 coming into this game. His on-base percentage is going to be probably under 300 for the remainder of his career. He's not a very good baseball player anymore. He's just not. He has some off-the-field antics. On the field, he's okay. And he does that against Felix Bautista. I think I was thinking about this the other day, that you're going to start seeing this more off Bautista, given the fact that he really is a 2-pitch pitcher, and that if you're sitting on one of them and he throws it remotely in the zone, you might be able to hit it.
I disagree.
Really?
I disagree wholeheartedly.
I mean, I think you saw it last night.
Well, yeah, but that's because...
On 2 occasions.
But
the splitter to lead off the inning, and then the fastball Javi Baez hit.
You'll see it if he doesn't have control of the splitter. But more often than not, he does. We have landscapers right outside of, legitimately...
Gotta love how close he came to the window.
He was a foot away from me. He was a foot away from me.
Yeah.
He was literally just on the other side of the window.
Still
from
is.
us. Yeah. But Mariano Rivera was a 1-pitch pitcher.
That's true. Only through cutters.
Right. He was a 1-pitch pitcher. So I don't think that... I think that Bautista being able to throw 103 at times with his fastball and then drop an 89-mile-an-hour splitter off the table is certainly unfair. The problem is that... And I blame whoever put up that graphic that said that he had gotten 23 whiffs on 25 splitters this year.
Yeah.
And then he threw 6 straight before getting another whiff that on that pitch. If his splitter isn't moving the way it's supposed to, then yes, it's going to get hit.
Sure.
But that's true of any pitch that you throw. So I'm not going to say that we're going to see this a lot from him. The fact remains that he throws over 100 miles an hour. And good luck catching up with that. Yeah,
I mean, for the most part, though, I think most professional hitters, if the ball is down the middle, can hit 100.
Yeah, but he's not throwing it down the middle.
He's not for the most part. He's not.
Usually he has 101 to 103 at the top of the zone.
Yeah.
And then he's dropping that splitter off the table. I'm not... again, if he throws... Again, if you throw anything right down the middle of the plate in the majors, it's more likely to get hit than not.
Who was the player who, I'm blanking on his name at the moment, and blanking on even what team it was, but he threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball just above the zone a little bit. And he was able to pull his hands up and put it in the center field for a base hit. I don't remember who it was, but it was something along
When, this year?
It was this year sometime.
Was it against the Red Sox?
It could have been. It could have been Verdugo, maybe. I don't remember who it was, but there are certain players who can do that. And Javi Baez, I just didn't expect to be one of them. He's not a guy who, for the past two or 3 years, has been able to get to balls like that. That's just the way it's been. So for Javi Baez to do it is an even worse way to end a ninth inning. But the Orioles still came back and saved it. So not a huge deal in retrospect.
Yeah, they got the win. Felix Bautista picks up the win.
He did
in the game. I always think that's so shitty. Part of my language that a closer can come in and blow a save, and then his team scores a winning run in the bottom half of the inning, and they get the win.
Well, that's why wins are not a how do I put it? Important stat at this point.
They're an antiquated stat.
Yes.
Now,
it's a team stat.
But it is a team stat to a certain extent. You have to keep your team in a game to pick up a win.
Yeah.
You have to go at least 5 innings. You have to be leading the ball game.
Yeah.
So if your team scores 1 run and you've given up none, like Dean Kramer.
Yeah.
Dean Kramer earned a win the other day because they won 1-0 and he took a shutout into the 7th inning.
Yeah.
He earned a win. That's a quality win for Dean Kramer. Not a quality win if the Orioles win 8-6. He threw 5 innings and gave up 5 runs.
Right. I mean,
there's a difference. I remember one year, David Price was 4-0 with a 7.99 ERA.
Right. Exactly. You could put prime Max Scherzer in the 2018 Orioles, and he'd probably lose 10 or 13 games. But that wouldn't be a really good reflection of how Max Scherzer pitched. Mm-hmm. That would just be more of a reflection of how the Orioles played when he pitched. And that's just the way it is, I think, with wins and losses. So I'm not going to say they're not important at all. They have their place, I guess. But for Felix Bautista, not really important win.
How do you feel about the RBI?
What do you mean by that? For Adam Frazier?
No. Just the RBI as a stat. There are so many people that say RBIs don't matter, and I'm like, how the hell don't RBIs matter? You're driving in runs, and what do you need to win the game? Runs. You need to score more runs than your opponent. If you have a guy on third base and he scores 67% of the time when you're up, you are good at driving in runs.
I mean, I think it reflects your ability to drive and run, sure. It reflects your ability to hit with runners in scoring position, and that's all important. Those are huge pieces to the game, but I don't necessarily think that it's also part of what your team can do. I think, if your team's not getting on base, you're not going to get nearly as many RBIs as, for example, again, you put Manny Machado on the 2018 Orioles compared to the 2018 Dodgers. If he had been with them for the full year, he would have had more RBIs because the Dodgers got on base a lot more than the Orioles did that year. So that's just the way I look at it. It is reflective of what your team does as well.
Yeah, but if you put Manny Machado batting 4th on your team, or you put who was batting 4th or you put Jonathan VR batting 4th after those trades, Manny Machado's going to get more RBIs than Jonathan VR.
No, that's not what I meant, though.
I know what you meant. Yeah. I know what you meant. I understand the premise.
I'm just saying it's reflective of your team as well, not only as an individual.
Right, but I'm saying that even if the Orioles trade Manny Machado and then they bring in Jonathan VR and then they get a couple of guys on base, chances are those guys are more likely to score with Manny Machado batting than they are with Jonathan VR batting.
Yeah.
So you can see it from both sides of the coin.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that I understand that the RBI can be a team stat because you have to have guys on base to be able to drive them in, but you also have to be able to drive them in.
Sure.
And I would much rather, no offense to Ryan Mountcastle, he's still one of the league leaders in baseball in RBIs, but I'd much rather have, say, Yordan Alvarez batting 4th than Ryan Mountcastle.
Just a little bit.
Because I know that Yordan Alvarez is an overall better hitter, and he's going to drive in more runs if he's provided the same opportunities, in my opinion. Speaking of Ryan Mountcastle, man, he seems to have gone back to the version of Ryan Mountcastle from last year through no fault of his own. You can't blame a guy for hitting 8 balls over 100 miles an hour in the Chicago White Sox series and getting 1 hit in the series.
Yeah, there's been a lot of bad luck.
And then last night, he stroked a single into center field in his final at-bat. He ended up scoring the game-winning run. But he had 2 other balls that he hit to right field yesterday that should have been base hits, but he hit them too hard, and they stayed up too long and got caught by the right fielder. This poor son of a gun making
Good save, Paul.
Making hard contact, and nothing to show for it. He's batting like 206 now.
Yeah, he's batting 210. And his OBP is 233.
Yeah,
so
he's got to do more to walk. He's got to get on base more.
Especially being that he's a 3 or 4 hitter every night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing I was going to get to in the show at some point, is that the 3 and 4 hitters with Santander and Mountcastle, who are basically there every night. I don't think there's been a different 3 and 4 every night than Ryan Mountcastle and Anthony Santander, unless Santander was hurt, which he was for one or two games.
He was out for 2 games.
With the back issue, correct?
So it would be... One time it was Ryan Mountcastle and James McCann.
That's right. It was James McCann.
3-4.
But those are your everyday guys.
Right. So... and we talked about this all off season.
Yep.
Into spring training.
Yeah.
Into this year, that your 3-4 hitters have got to be better. You needed that middle of the order bat.
209 and 210.
And exactly. Your 3-4 hitters are hitting 209 and 210. One of them has a 233 on base percentage, who's your usual 4 hitter.
Yeah.
And the other one, what's Santander's on base percentage?
If it's 289.
289.
So look, if you're Juan Soto,
he should be hitting 289. Juan
Right.
Soto sucks.
Juan Soto still has an OBP though, probably like 350. Actually, I don't know about that, but his on base percentage is always drastically higher than his batting average.
Dude, I'm to the point. We'll get to Juan Soto in a second, but. No, you know what? We're going to talk about him right now. It's our show. We'll talk
351 is his OBP.
Yeah, Gunnar Henderson's on base percentage is higher.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, he's 377.
Okay.
I do not care how much Juan Soto walks anymore. I do not care. Because if you walk 160 times, that's cool, bro. You're betting 189.
He's batting 176, actually.
176.
But he's already walked. He has walked 20 times, which is leading all the major leagues. So there is that. I mean, look, Juan Soto, we can have a debate about him all day, but OPS Plus still shows he's a better than league average hitter, even with what he's doing. If he gets it above, if he starts hitting 230, 240, which is what I expect he'll do for the year, because that's basically what he did last year.
He's better than that.
He's an incredible. Oh, he is. A lot better than that.
He's way better than that. I don't know why we give him a pass.
Juan Soto had a 465 on base percentage in 2021. So
he hit,
he
289, right?
He hit 313 in 2021. Yes.
Did he really?
Yep. With Washington.
Wow. I remember in 2021, he didn't win the home run derby, but he put on a really good show.
Well, he did win the home run derby.
In 2021?
He won it in, let's see.
2020, maybe.
Baseball Reference shows he won it, but I don't know what year it was. Anyway.
I remember the one year, because Pete Alonso won it back-to-back years. He won it in 2021 and I believe 2019. Did Soto win it last year?
Soto might have been last year. I'm still looking. Give me 1 sec.
But Juan Soto, I remember in 2021, he put on a really good showing in the All-Star at the All-Star break in the home run derby, and then he came out because he was hitting like 240 at the All-Star
2022.
break. Yeah, and he came out and was on fire. He hit like 350 the second half in 2021 to get that average up there. I thought the average was like 289. But then last year he hit what, 240?
He hit a combined, because he played for 2 teams, he came about 242.
242 last year.
And but still 401 OBP.
Right.
That's
that's
an incredible number still.
That's great, but imagine if he hit 300.
Yeah, I mean, sure. That's
imagine if he hit 275. I think that we give him a pass for his hit tool somehow diminishing. And I get it.
I don't know.
I don't get it, because you can argue that he wasn't being protected because you don't really care about pitching to Josh Bell when he was in D.C. the first half of last year.
Well, I don't know, man. Josh Bell was amazing in D.C. Amazing.
Yeah, he wasn't Manny Machado. He wasn't Manny Machado.
And
he wasn't Fernando Tatis, and he wasn't Xander Bogaerts. He was good in D.C. He was good. But when he got traded, he had 14 home runs.
But he hit 301 with a 384 on base percentage.
Okay.
And his OPS was 877.
Who would you rather pitch to, Josh Bell or Manny Machado?
Oh, Josh Bell.
Exactly.
Well, especially current Josh Bell, the way the season started off for him.
So, Juan Soto goes to San Diego, and it's like, now he has even more protection around him. He's going to be a stud. Nope. That lineup is stacked, including Juan Soto, and he's hitting 176.
Yeah.
He's hitting 176 with a 351 on base.
It's hard
percentage.
to believe, really.
It's the same thing that happened to him last year, and the same thing that started to happen to him in 2021 until he turned it on in the second half. The hit tool's regressing, and until he turns it back on again. Now, if he goes out, it's the 3rd week of April. I understand that. So if he goes back out from May to August and hits 320 the rest of the way, okay. Is he going to do that? Because now we've seen a year and a half plus a month
of deficiency.
Exactly. So I don't know. We're getting off on a tangent here, but I like Juan Soto, and I think he's way better than he's been. How do you feel? Because Brandon Hyde said that he thought that Gunnar Henderson was being too selective, too patient. Do you think that that's the case with Juan Soto, where maybe he's taking his pitch?
It could be.
And swinging at the wrong one.
You don't walk 20 times unless you're one of the most patient hitters to play the game. That's just how it is. And Juan Soto has always been extremely selective, but his selectivity could be at a rate where it's just too much right now, and that could be certain. And Gunnar Henderson, I don't really necessarily agree with that from Brandon Hyde. I don't know if that's a good assessment. I think that's just trying to make excuses for something. I think being selective is a great thing always. I find it to be, maybe it can get a little too much in some scenarios. I don't think being selective is a bad thing.
The one of bad that made me, where it was the game that he said that, after that, the game that, there was a game, and then he said in the post game press conference of that game that he thinks Gunnar's being too selective.
Yeah.
There was an at-bat in that game where he took consecutive fastballs right down the middle of the plate and didn't swing the bat. Didn't swing the bat.
Yeah.
And so in that instance, I didn't like it. My knee-jerk reaction when Brandon Hyde said that was, you have a guy who's 21 years old.
Yeah.
He's struggling to hit, but he's getting on base still because he's willing to wait for his pitch, and he's willing to take a walk. Now you're taking that kid and you're telling him be more aggressive, and now you're getting him to swing at pitches out of the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
There was an at-bat a couple of games ago, I believe it was on Wednesday. There was a pitch at his ankles, a breaking ball that came in at his ankles, and he tried to uppercut that thing and swung right through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pitch that a week ago he wasn't swinging at.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, are you cutting off your nose to spite your face?
Yeah, it certainly could be the case.
I looked up the definition of that saying, and I'm not using it right, but I am.
No, you are. You are.
Well, no, it's are you hurt? It's when you're trying to hurt one thing and end up hurting yourself.
Right. That
type of thing.
You're using it right.
But he's not trying to hurt Gunnar Henderson by telling him to be more selective.
Nah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, regardless, Gunnar Henderson.
You get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, totally. If Gunnar Henderson at this point, there's been a lot of swing and miss, which we didn't expect to see from him. It's not something he did a lot in the minors. He wasn't a big swing and miss guy. He made contact with everything, and he got on base to a ridiculous level, and he's still doing that. 376 is beyond what you would believe with a 185 batting average. Mm-hmm. It's hard to believe, but the swing and miss has been high. So when he's selecting his pitches to actually swing at, he's not making a lot of contact. You see the double last night. That's good. You know that
when he makes hard contact, that ball goes.
Yeah. I mean that was a great swing. And there were some other things last night that were not so great. I couldn't tell because I was sitting kind of on the side. I was sitting in section 55, so I couldn't tell 100%. But it looked like his strikeout looking. The ball was basically right down the middle.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. Okay.
No.
Okay.
The pitch was high and.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And outside.
Okay.
That umpire last night was god awful.
Yeah, I could kind of tell. The umpires for the past few weeks for the Orioles have not been.
The umpires
in Washington
all year,
were horrible.
They've been terrible.
In Washington, they were horrible.
The umpire last night gifted Tyler Wells a strikeout in the second inning where he called two pitches that were like 6 inches off the corner.
Yeah, so you just can't see that from where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
But it's Gunnar Henderson's got to turn it on. But his leash is going to get longer. I think Dan Connolly mentioned that this morning, who's going to be on the show later. He mentioned that the leash is only going to keep lengthening for Gunnar Henderson.
Well, and the thing is, over the last week, he of the 3 guys that we did for Take to Rake last week, so Adley Rutschman, Austin Hayes, and Gunnar Henderson, Henderson walked the most, struck out the least, and had the second most hits. Mm-hmm. He went 4 for 14 this past week, so that's 286, and he walked 5 and he walked 5 times, only struck out 3 times. Yeah. So to me, he's improving.
Yeah.
He's starting to get a little bit better, and I think 2 weeks from now you're going to see him in a really hot streak.
When does this turn into the Spencer Torkelson situation, though?
It doesn't.
You don't think it does?
It doesn't. It doesn't, because again, you're 3 weeks into the season, and you look at Bobby Witt, Julio Rodriguez, and Adley Rutschman their first 3 weeks last year.
True.
And I get that he came up for 30 games last year. I understand that. But they have tape on him now. You know what I mean? They have video on him now. They've learned how to pitch him. And so now he's got this is his rookie year. There's a reason why last year doesn't count as his rookie year. Now he has to make the adjustments at the big league level.
Being 20 is tough. Being 21, 20 years old. I think he's 21, but 20 last year.
He'll be 22 in July.
Okay. That's an incredibly tough time to make and try to be a starter in the major leagues. It just is. You don't see many guys do it. I mean, A-Rod came up at 18, and that's just unprecedented. It doesn't happen anymore. Even 21 is extremely young. He will struggle. We knew he was going to struggle a little bit. He's just got to get through it. And you're right. I don't think it will become this Spencer Torkelson situation. I don't expect that to be. Torkelson hasn't, one of the most hyped prospects I've seen in a while. He hit everything at Arizona State. Yeah, everything.
And then he hit everything in the minors. He's not even. He doesn't even have a full season under his belt at the big league level.
Yeah,
and he's hitting right around 250 this year. Or going into the game last night, he was hitting like 242.
He's been better.
And he's going to get better. He's going to get better. I have no.
He just doesn't walk. His OBP is 247. That's the problem.
It blows my mind when middle of the order hitters who have tons of power don't walk. I understand that in order to have that power and hit a lot of home runs, you have to be aggressive and you have to swing at pitches, but you also have to these guys don't want to throw you pitch. They don't want to throw you strikes, so make them throw you strikes.
Yeah.
It doesn't compute to me that these guys don't walk more. It was like Mark Trumbo, the year that he hit 47 home runs for the Orioles, his on-base percentage was like 308. And he didn't have a sacrifice fly that year. In his first 2 years in his first 2 years in Baltimore, he had one sacrifice fly.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. He just if you hit 45 freaking home runs, you should be getting on base at a 350 clip.
Yeah.
It is unacceptable to me for a guy to hit third or fourth in an order and not get on base at a 340 or higher clip.
Well, that's why guys like Vlad Guerrero and Yordan Alvarez are so, they're so sought after.
Yeah.
It's hard to find.
So let's talk a little bit about the pitching. The bullpen has really solidified itself. Yadier Cano has come up and been a revelation. Mike Baumann has just been a stud since his second game of the season. Brian Baker has now gone, 9 2/3 innings without giving up a run, and he's given up only 2 hits in the process. He looks like he thinks he can get anybody out.
Yeah.
I will give credit where credit's due, and I will eat crow on this one. After his first outing of the year, I was like, this dude sucks.
Well, don't say that yet. We're still 3 weeks into April. I wouldn't say you were completely off. There's a lot of baseball to go.
There's a lot of baseball to go, but this is what he was doing at the end of last year, and it's what he's doing now. And he looks damn near unhittable.
It was really good last night.
Yeah.
Really
He's
good.
been really good since the second game of the season.
Yeah.
He's been really good.
I'm not sure anyone made contact last night. I don't remember
he was,
1 or 2 foul balls. It was pretty dominant.
He was awesome last night. Him, Cano, Baumann have been really good. Cano, I'm more so like it's still early because he's pitched in 5 games or 4 games. Baumann, Baker, they've been doing it. Coulomb has been solid. Bautista in the back end, you think he's going to give up more runs because he only throws 2 pitches. I think that when his pitches are on, he's untouchable.
Yeah.
So then you come to the question, Tate and Givens are beginning rehab assignments this next coming week.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about this with Stan in just a couple of minutes here. Who leaves? Who goes? Because Cianel Perez is out of options. Austin Voth is out of options. You like the length that Voth and Aiken give you.
Yeah.
I
think it's got to be Voth.
You're going to DFA him?
Yeah, I mean,
he's retired 9 straight batters.
I know. It's just you sign, especially with Michael Givens, and he would be the first one back. I would assume that seems like it's going to be the case. You paid him what, $6 million?
Yeah,
was it? It's hard to say that it's hard to prove to Michael Givens that there aren't better players in the. He's going to go through a rehab assignment for sure, but they really can't delay it that much longer. They really can't delay it. They're going to have to make a move. So Michael Givens is a legitimate relief pitcher with back end experience. It's got to be someone. I think Austin Voth would have to be the guy.
I would.
It's hard to delay it anymore because I think they've already delayed it.
You would have to think it would be Perez.
Really?
He's had 1 year of success.
Yeah.
He's been awful this year.
But he was really good last year.
He was, but this year he's not. And he's on the exact opposite side of the spectrum now, where he's walking everybody, he's giving up hits. He came in the other day, and I walked into the kitchen for like 30 seconds. I came in, there was 1 out and 2 guys on, and I was taking him out that quickly. And it's just like, you want him to have a longer leash because he historically had one of the best seasons an Orioles reliever has ever had last year. This year, that's not the case. He's out of options. Voth, on the other hand, is trending in the opposite direction, and he gives you length out of the bullpen, especially when you have some guys in your rotation who are in Bradish. 4 of your 5 starters right now are young guys without a ton of experience. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be a couple of weeks before Tate and Givens are back, so we have a little bit of time. Something could happen. I hope not. This is, again, I hate to say it's a good problem to have because, like,
they are until they aren't. I mean, it's kind of how it works out.
You don't want to have really good guys wasting away in the minors.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you might have to make a move. Cianel Perez had a 1.4 ERA last year. 1.4. You know, like,
and this year, what is it? 7?
It is 4.5 so
4.5.
far. But you know, his FIP is 322, so it shows he's probably pitched a little better than it shows. But his WHIP is 2.625. So not a good number. Not a good number you want to see there. But
that's awful.
Yeah, it's not good, but he's actually striking out more guys per 9 than he was last year. So
he said that he thinks he's throwing more strikes this year than last year, and that might be what the problem is.
It could be.
So we got to get Stan, the fan, on the line. While Zach does that, I want to remind you, O's fans, did you know that one of your fellow fans is the owner of Birdland Sports? That's right, Josh Soroka from the Section 336 podcast is behind Birdland Sports. He knows what fellow fans want and has created an amazing collection of merchandise just for you. From the popular Birds Are Coming tees to unique player cartoon shirts and World Series prediction designs, Birdland Sports has everything you need to show off your O's pride. And with prices more affordable than the big guys, you can support a small business run by one of your own. New this week at Birdland Sports, you can get your very own Homer hose. Dong bong. Celebrate and stay hydrated all summer for just $15. Don't wait. Head to birdlandsports.com today and show your support for the birds with Birdland Sports. Joining us now for his weekly segment, he is Stan the Fan. Charles, Stan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zach, and good morning, Paul. How are you guys?
Doing well, especially since the Orioles have won 4 straight and 8 of 10 after their victory over the Tigers last night. Stan, it seems like the Orioles offense was carrying the load, and then this past week they've scored 7 runs in their last 3 games, but they've managed to win all 3 of those games, plus the game last Sunday. What does it say about this team that they're able to win when they're not pitching and win when they're not hitting?
Well, it shows that maybe the sum is greater than the parts, individually. This is a team that can beat you in a lot of different ways. And what they're doing right now is taking care of business the way the Tampa Bay Rays took care of business the first 9 games of the season. Mm-hmm. And that would be nice if they continued by sweeping the Detroit Tigers. That's the Rays beat the Nationals, the Tigers, and who was the other team?
The Athletics.
First 9 games.
Wasn't it the Athletics?
Athletics, Oakland. So they went. And we've done pretty much that. We won 2 out of 3 against, or we won 3 out of 4, mm-hmm. but we're in hand-to-hand combat in Game 4 to come away with the series win. So if we hold court and we beat the Nationals, swept them, if we can sweep the Tigers, we're kind of holding court with the Rays.
Yeah, and then you got Boston coming in, who doesn't exactly pitch lights out. The offense is really good, but with the way the pitching is going, Stan, you have to feel pretty confident in the Orioles right now. I mean, you look at their last 3 starters in Dean Kramer, Kyle Bradish, and Tyler Wells. 19 2/3 innings of shutout baseball. The team as a whole went 34 2/3 innings scoreless before Felix Bautista gave up that run with 2 outs in the 9th inning last night. Have you seen anything different from the pitching staff that has led them to take this huge step forward, or again, do you think it's just a product of the teams that they're playing?
I think it's a little bit the product. I don't believe that starting pitching efficiency is totally related to the teams you're pitching against. It certainly helped, but when you're talking about major league players and the confidence level they have, I don't think that Dean Kramer goes out next week, say, against the Red Sox and goes, darn it, I'm really nervous tonight because I only beat the Nationals. I only pitched really well against the Nationals. I think confidence is sort of confidence, and you can build on that. I just think, they are regressing, not backward. What's the word? The opposite of regression. They're sort of coming into the way they pitched last year. In the case of Bradish and Kramer,
Yeah, and it's something.
And Wells has been healthy, and making me foolish for thinking that he should have been in the bullpen.
His one walk last night, Stan, was just his second walk of the season. His control has been impeccable, and when he's healthy, he's one of the best.
16 and 2 is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
strikeouts to walk.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we talk a little bit more about the pitching, Adam Frazier comes up last night, and he did strike out twice, but he's a big time contact guy. He comes up with runners on first and third, and I tweeted out, I know he struck out twice tonight, but Adam Frazier is the guy you want up in this situation because he makes contact. Sure enough, the next pitch, he hits the grounder to first base. Mountcastle got a great jump when the ball came off the bat. He scores on the fielder's choice grounder to walk it off. How important is it to a team to have a guy like Adam Frazier where, yeah, he's not going to hit 40 doubles and 20 home runs, but he's going to make contact at bat after at bat and give you an opportunity to do some things? How important is a guy like Adam Frazier?
Well, he's pretty important. I mean, he's a really nice player. I've never seen him, because pretty much all of his career was in the National League. He was with Seattle briefly, but he was with Pittsburgh in kind of relative obscurity, and then he was traded to the Padres. He's a nice player. He's a good complement player, and the fact that he gets the bat on the ball is important. They were very fortunate in that because Torkelson made an absolutely terrible throw to the plate.
He did.
On that pitch.
I will say though, that Mountcastle's jump was so great that even if that throw is on line, it's a bang play at the plate. He may be called out.
The throw was probably rushed when Torkelson looked up and saw how much progress Mountcastle had made, but it's almost like he threw the ball thinking it was a force play at the plate.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's actually good analysis.
Threw it on the back. He threw it totally to the dugout, the Oriole dugout side of home plate, and Mountcastle slid in rather easily.
Yeah, and I saw something, and I know I didn't put this in my notes, but I thought it was interesting. I saw something the other day that says that Ryan Mountcastle has the second highest sprint speed on the team, behind Jorge Mateo. He doesn't look that fast, but he is that fast. Has that been something that's impressed you his first few years in the majors?
Yeah, the thing that's so tantalizing about him, and I mean, we can talk about him in great length because I'm endlessly frustrated by him, is he is just an absolute, he's an athlete the way I remember Mike Schmidt was an athlete, so he's just got this amazing God gift talent of being an elite athlete. But geez, at the end of the day, you just look up at those numbers and you go, there's got to be more with this guy,
Yeah, and the thing about it, Stan, is I get what you're saying, and I think that and I also tweeted out last night that it looks like he's reverted to 2022 Ryan Mountcastle through no fault of his own. Stan, he had 8 balls he hit over 100 miles an hour off the bat in Chicago, and none of them were base hits. When he finally did get a base hit, it ended up being a fielder's choice because he hit it so hard that the left fielder had to play it on a short hop, and Mullins had to go back to the bag thinking that the ball was going to be caught, and he gets thrown out at third base, so it turns into a fielder's choice. Last night, he hit 2 line drives, hard as can be into right field, that were caught because he hit them so hard they stayed up for the right fielder to catch him. I can't fault the guy for hitting a ball 100 miles an hour that goes into somebody's glove.
You can't fault that, but again, when you look up at the numbers, we love Tyler Wells because of 16 and 2, right? 16 strikeouts to 2 walks. Mountcastle's 20 strikeouts versus 3 walks. The average is 210. The on-base percentage is 233, and the OPS for a guy like that is 714. It's just the package. At the end of the day, is not a great package.
Yeah, so
it's not. It doesn't appear that there's any sort of end to this. It's nice that he hits the ball hard, but at the end of the day, we're talking about results too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to look at the sprint speed numbers after Paul mentioned them.
Yeah.
Jorge Mateo in the 99th percentile of sprint speed, but then you look at Mountcastle in the 81st percentile according to Baseball Savant, and then Cedric Mullins all the way down the 68th percentile, which is not what we're used to seeing. But I just wanted to throw that out there. That's the numbers. Austin Hayes right behind him at 66. So it's interesting to see that Cedric is not quite as fast as he used to be, at least yet, 3 weeks into the year.
Oh no, I saw that. I saw that about Cedric last year. I was surprised at how low his sprint speed is. I think he's just quick, and I think he gets. I think he gets really good jumps. I think Cedric's just a really good base runner. So, which is why he ends up with more steals than somebody in the 68th percentile sprint speed would probably end up with. Now, Stan, I want to go back to the pitching here a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about Cedric Mullins since Ryan, since Zach.
Why, are they making him? Are they turning him into a pitcher?
No. But we did just bring up Cedric.
You said I wanted to talk about the pitching, and he said, actually, I want to talk about Cedric Mullins. Go ahead.
Yeah, because Zach brought him up, and 7-game hitting streak for Cedric Mullins. He has 14 walks. Him, Rutschman, and Gunnar Henderson are on pace for over 100 walks this year. I think that's going to slow down a little bit. Cedric really had a big series in Boston and kind of slowed down, but again, he has that 7-game hitting streak since then. How valuable is Cedric Mullins to this team right now, and is he more valuable to this team as a player for the team or as a trade candidate down the line?
Boy, that's a lot to unpack. He's a very nice player, Cedric Mullins. The numbers don't lie to you. The 386 is important. We said how he's got 9 stolen bases. He's getting on base, and he plays a very good defense. Not quite as great a defender as I thought he was when I initially saw him a few years ago. He seems to have regressed a little bit to me on the balls that are over his head. He does get a great jump on balls, but the balls over his head, he somehow seems to lose them. And when he jumps for balls, I'm not real confident he's going to come down with the ball.
Yeah.
But he's a very important player on the team right now. The only question I have is involving Cedric Mullins, and I talked about this maybe with you last week, or maybe it was with Ross Grimsley and our guest this week. But I remember asking a scout if Mateo really ends up being this great. This was like last July or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, can Jackson Holliday play center field? And he didn't miss a beat and said, yeah, he can play center field. So to me, that's sort of the one area where Mullins could go in a trade or something like that, is if you're convinced. And by the way, Jackson Holliday, Luke told me last night on my way home from the game, hit 2 home runs last night.
He's hitting 404.
For Delmarva. Yeah. So it shouldn't be too long. I would think another 2 weeks before he's at Aberdeen.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think that May 8th we're going to see some promotions. I think we're going to see him in Aberdeen, and I think we're going to see Hessen Kjerstad go to AAA.
Why that date?
Because so May 8th is a Monday. They always do the promotions on Mondays because it's the off day, and I think that would be the earliest that they would move anybody.
Okay. Yeah, and that sounds about right. Just about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
That Holiday. So Holiday is going to be on this fast trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going to snap our fingers, and we're going to be going, okay, he's just about ready. Because he could easily end the season. He could end this season possibly at Norfolk if he's that good. That's incredibly fast.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, this decision is going to come. It's going to converge with his progress as to what's going to happen with Mullins, what's going to happen with Mateo, and we'll know a lot more about Mateo the next 2-3 months this year. But boy, if he continues playing the way he's played and can stay healthy, that's a remarkable player. That's a more valuable player than Cedric Mullins.
Oh, Stan, I'll tell you, man, Jorge Mateo to this point in the year, he looks like he might be the best shortstop in the American League. It's a really early knee-jerk reaction because, again, we're in the third week of April.
Yeah.
But he's hitting
Yep.
370 with an on-base percentage around 400. He's hitting the ball with power.
Yep.
He struggled on breaking balls last year. Now he's crushing breaking balls this year. He looks like the total package when it comes to a positional baseball player.
Yep, and he's not somebody you just want to say, well, okay, we got Jackson Holiday coming up. Let's trade him to get a pitcher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not a guy you just now throw away because you got a younger guy coming up. And it's not like he's 31. He's 27 years old. You know, in every great rebuild, doesn't it help to every once in a while get a fluke? And that's what Mateo has started to look like for the Orioles, that they just somehow lucked into picking a guy up off the scrap heap because he was available, and you ended up with a star. It happens, you know. And the Orioles haven't had that happen in a long, long, long time.
Yeah, and look, Mateo, at one point, he was the number one prospect in the Yankees system above Aaron Judge. He was one of the top prospects in all of baseball.
Yep.
The Orioles finally give him an opportunity to get 500 plate appearances in the season, and he's taken that from last year, taken his struggles, seem to have made them strengths this year, and again, he looks like a complete ball player right now. I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes for him for sure. Now, getting back to the pitching side of things, and Stan, you were saying that we keep talking about the Orioles need to trade for a frontline starting pitcher. Well, they have three pitchers who have gone 19 2/3 shutout innings as starters. Kyle Gibson has been reliable all season, and you're looking at these guys, and they're starting to pitch really, really well. Cole Irvin's in the minor leagues. You didn't trade for him to be a minor league pitcher for you. John Means is coming back. What are the Orioles going to do with their starting rotation if these guys continue to perform? Can you envision them going to a six-man rotation? I know it's not something that they really want to do, but you can't keep a guy like Cole Irvin in the minors if he's performing well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there was a little bit of this notion that they've given up on Cole Irvin. Cole Irvin would not have been sent to the minors. They would have let him work out his problem at the major league level had the other starters at that moment in time been giving you length. But they knew they were going into a series. They knew Keegan Aiken was going to go on the paternity list. You know, his wife's giving birth to a baby. And they knew that they needed to shore up the pitching staff. And unfortunately, letting him, it wasn't a great look to me to have him talk to the media and then inform him that he was being sent down. It just looked very awkward, like the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. But you can understand that was going to be an unfortunate conversation to have with Cole Irvin. But so far through one start, I think he let up 2 runs in 6 innings, 3 ERA. It's all these problems are pleasant problems to have, really. They may not be pleasant for Michael Baumann, Austin Voth, Perez, but they're pleasant problems for management to have, that they've got a plethora of options and ways that they can go right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. It might make you have to take some Alka-Seltzer before bed every night, but they have guys who are performing and not enough spots for all the guys that are performing. It is a nice problem to have. Now, you mentioned Perez and Baumann and Voth. Dylan Tate and Michael Givens are going on rehab assignments supposedly this coming week. They'll probably be back I would imagine Givens before Tate. I imagine Givens will be back in a week or two, whereas Tate might take a few weeks. But how do you make room you consider the fact that Felix Bautista is your closer? Mike Baumann hasn't given up a run since his first game. Baker hasn't given up a run since his first game. Cano has looked unhittable since he came up. Voth has retired 9 straight. Coming out of the bullpen. Really, your worst pitchers coming out of your bullpen right now are Keegan Aiken and CNL Perez. You like the length that Voth and Aiken give you, and Perez was phenomenal last year, and by the way, he's out of options, as is Voth. How do you make room for Tate and for Givens?
Well, usually the way this works out is either an injury crops up somewhere, and now we're talking about 2 guys coming back from injuries. So, who knows what the health situation will be in 10 days with Givens and maybe 2.5 weeks with Tate. But we'll see. But usually it boils down to who's got options. Does Michael Baumann have an option?
I don't know.
He does.
I think he would. Yeah.
Yeah, he has options.
Yeah, I would think he would. I would think he'd be, unfortunately for Mr. Baumann, because he's a terrific guy, and it's great to see one of these guys. 5 years ago, all the club was touting was how great Baumann and Lothar were. Maybe that was 6 or 7 years ago, but it's great to see what Baumann can do. And by the way, he did it converting to being a relief pitcher and accepting that and embracing that. So I love Michael Baumann, and I don't think you're going to destroy him, but it could be Yanni or Cano. I don't know. So those two guys stand out for me. I don't think the club is going to give up on Perez, just yet. And I think Voth is an important swing man. They've got to get him straightened out where he's not giving up a home run in every appearance. But he's been valuable in an understated way, and it's hard to say a guy's valuable. What was ERA is 8, I think, something like that right now.
Mm-hmm. I know Aiken's ERA is 8.31, but both I don't have in front of me.
Whose ERA is 8.31?
Keegan Aiken.
Keegan Aiken. Yes, he is. He's 8.31. Yep.
So
Aiken and Baumann and Cano are somehow those are the most vulnerable guys to me at this point. I don't think I think Chris Holt and his team are going to work on figuring out how to get Perez turned around rather than abandoning him at this point in time.
Well, yeah, and they would have to, otherwise they're going to lose him because they would have to DFA him to try and get him to clear waivers.
No, there's no question. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that he is going to stick, but maybe they start using him in lower leverage situations. You mentioned
for
Voth.
A little while until he gets turned around.
Yeah, and Voth, he's had 6 appearances. He gave up a home run in each of his first 5, but he's retired his last 9 batters, so he seems to be trending up. Keegan Aiken, Stan, to me, I think he's, for me, is the most likely to go, simply because he allowed 37% of inherited runners to score last year, which was the highest mark on the team. League average was 31%. And he's allowed, I want to say, 3 or 4 inherited runners to score this year to this point. The ERA is 8.30.
Yeah, the numbers haven't been good with Aiken, no question about it.
Yeah, I would imagine that he might have the shortest leash simply because there's nobody else is pitching as poorly as him. Before we let you go, I do want to talk about...
Is he out of options, Aiken?
No, he's got options.
Okay.
So
he would be the guy. I'm sorry. I misread one of his stats. Okay. Yeah, he would be the lead guy at this point in time. By the way, I have one question for you, and I know you got a tight schedule today.
Sure.
I heard you guys this morning. You weren't talking at all about Bautista's one problem he has in his game right now, and that is holding runners on first base.
That's terrible. He is so bad at it.
He never seems to check them.
He cannot. The margin for error. Look, listen. He only comes into games. He's never going to come in when there's a 4 or 5 run lead. He's going to come in with a 1 run lead or a 2 run lead at most, almost every occasion. You cannot let them just walk down to second base and give them the ability to be in scoring position. It's just terrible. And I brought it up in the post-game press conference last night. And I understand Hyde's not going to get into knocking a player. Right? So he just sort of brushed it off that, well, he's a big guy and he's got a lot of moving parts and he's slow. He's a little slow to the plate, but there's got to be some kind of cognizance on the part of the club that we've got to stop that.
Yeah.
That you just can't let it. It's one thing if they're successful. It's another thing giving them bases, and it's just terrible.
Has he ever thrown over? I'm not sure I've ever seen him throw over.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I think I've seen him, but it's like sort of such a token toss.
Yeah.
A couple times I think I've seen him. It's just it's not acceptable. It's really unacceptable for a relief pitcher to allow that to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Honestly, I tweeted it out last night that he just lets these guys take second base. The leg kick is high. The delivery is deliberate and slow. He gives Rutschman.
You can't change. You're not going to change the delivery.
You can't.
What you're going to change is either having an occasional throw over, and we know the new rule, or you've got to proactively outguess the opposition and do pitch outs with him.
Yep, 100%. 100%. I agree. All right, Sam, before we let you go, I do want to ask you, and I didn't put it in my notes because I forgot that it happened, but I do want to talk about this. Zach's going to sound off on this in a couple of minutes. Max Scherzer gets thrown out of the game in the third inning the other day for having too much sticky substance on his hand. He had been warned about it the previous inning. They asked him to switch gloves. They had him wash his hands once. They had him wash his hands a second time. When he reapplied the rosin to his hands, he did it in front of an MLB official. He comes out, they ask him to change the glove. He changes the glove. Phil Cuzzi, who's the only umpire to ever throw a pitcher out of the game, he's thrown all three have been thrown out for having a sticky substance. He throws out Scherzer, who's screaming at him, "It's rosin, it's rosin, it's rosin." Again, did it in front of a major league official and still gets thrown out and now has a 10-game suspension. What are your thoughts on Max Scherzer and this whole situation going down with him?
This is an area I don't even know what to say. It's just such a bit. Did he get thrown out? But I mean, I know he got thrown out of the game for that. Is he getting a suspension automatically because he had sticky stuff?
He took a 10-game suspension.
It's not something he did by his anger or none of that stuff.
It's something they introduced this year to really crack down on it even more.
Well, it's a really screwy situation. I believe he probably did have too much sticky stuff on his. I was talking to Palmer about this. In the old days, Palmer said he used to have his own rosin bag in his back pocket, but you couldn't do that today because once the rosin gets wet, in a rainy situation, it's pretty much useless.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what to say. It's ridiculous that an MLB official watched him do that and said, "Okay, you're good to go." I'm assuming that's why the MLB official watches him do that.
Yep.
And then he comes back and it's stickier. It's a messy situation, or if you want to call it a sticky situation. But Scherzer, there's no question they can't afford him down 10 days right now. Although they did get a great return performance last night by Joey Lucchesi, 7 shutout innings against the Giants.
Yeah, it's something that's interesting because I don't think that Max Scherzer necessarily did anything wrong, especially if he did it in front of the official. I don't think that Max Scherzer is suddenly a worse pitcher now because of all this. So I don't know what to make of it, but Zach's about to sound off on it, so I just wanted to get your take before we let you go. What do you got coming up this week?
Not sure what we've got Monday night. Ross and I always delve into it later in the week, and we've postponed our show for Thursday night. I erroneously rescheduled somebody into that slot because of the NFL draft.
Gotcha.
Everybody's going to be paying attention to that.
All right, Sam. Well, you enjoy the NFL draft. Enjoy the rest of the weekend of Orioles baseball. We'll talk to you next week.
Power rankings out on Monday morning. Okay?
All right, absolutely. We'll look forward to it.
Have a great weekend.
You
All
too.
Right, bye, guys.
Bye-bye. That was Stan the Fan, Charles, who continues to have 2 great shows for you every week. Every Monday night, Stan and former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley visit with a different guest from the world of baseball. And every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan and Ross caught up with former Orioles pitcher Mike Boddicker, while Stan also chatted with Fantasy Pros NFL draft analyst Ken Zales. You can find these shows under the videos tab at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or at PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan and Ross are back this Monday night for another great show. So what we're going to do is we're going to catch a break. We're going to come back. Zach's going to sound off, and we'll lead that into the payoff pitch around the league. That is next on the Bat Around.
Hartford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The national championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holiday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
All right, welcome back to the Bat Around as we approach hour number 2 here. Today's show brought to you by PressBox Online Offers. Baseball season is here, and for the first time in history, you can bet from your phone in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for the best sportsbook offers and incentives so you can start winning today. Get 5 second chance bets at PointsBet when you deposit and bet your first $50. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to claim your incentive. And now, Zach is going to give his take on the Max Scherzer debacle and tell us his thoughts, because to me it's not a huge deal. But Zach, I don't know your thoughts.
So I actually have a bigger problem than just the suspension. I think there's an unfair rule in Major League Baseball with this entire thing, and that's that the Mets, for the remainder of the April month, only get to carry 25 players on the roster, because Max Scherzer cannot be replaced on the roster because he is a suspended
that's
player.
stupid.
That's a horrible rule. I just want to come out there and say that is. It's so unfair to the Mets, and so unfair to Max Scherzer, really, and he's not going to be able to appeal. Max Scherzer did not appeal, and the reason for that is because he learned that if he did appeal, he would be in front of an MLB official who would then make the decision, which is not really any chance of winning. He basically came out and said, like, I have zero chance of winning this appeal. Why even make the appeal? That's another horrible, part about this. Max Scherzer might have done something wrong. We don't really know. He says he swears on his kid's life that he didn't use an illegal substance. That's what he said in his post-game press conference. That's pretty convincing. I mean, I think to anyone, that's pretty convincing. But pitchers use rosin every single day. Now, if Max Scherzer was using rosin in a more what's the word for it? If he was using more of it than most pitchers do, and he was intentionally mixing it with sweat or something along those lines, which is what we think happened, I can see why the MLB umpires would at least want to check it out. But the fact that there's no way for them to tell whether he's doing something wrong or not, and they automatically just, because they really can't tell if it's rosin or not, just give him a suspension is horrible to me. It's horrible to me.
Well, so they stopped him.
There's got to be some scientific process for this. You can't just look at it and go, oh, that's not rosin.
Yeah, is that what they did?
I mean, that's it. He was arguing with them, and they were, not checking. They were not really doing anything. Obviously, they get checked after every single inning. So one of them clearly thought that what he was using wasn't rosin. But to me, there's got to be a better process than that. There's got to be. You can't just look at something and feel something and say that it's not. Because if Max Scherzer saying he's swearing on a kid's life, then then they're probably wrong. They're probably wrong.
Yeah, and if he's screaming at the guy, it's rosin. So from my understanding, they checked him at the end of the second inning.
Yeah.
They told him, they checked him, they told him he had to go wash off his hands.
Yep.
Then they checked him again as he came out for the top of the third.
Every inning they check, right, yeah.
But they checked him coming into the game, coming into the inning. Usually it's at the end of the inning.
So they wanted him to try to fix the situation. They wanted him to wash it off. So he went into the clubhouse and he did what they said, which is also what he said in his post-game press conference. He said, I did everything they said, and I came back out, and they still hunted me down and, thought the situation... We got the lawn mowing crew out here again.
Literally right outside of our door.
And they thought the situation was completely different than it was. Max Scherzer complied with what they wanted. And again, this is not a scientific process where these guys are figuring out exactly what's going on. This was just horrible. I think everything about this was such a bad look for Major League Baseball and such a bad look for the umpiring crews, considering there's been so much turmoil with them in the past few years anyway, with the calls they've made, especially behind the plate. These rules need to be amended, and especially the one that allows the Mets only to have 25 players for the rest of the month until Max Scherzer returns on May 1st. That's horrible. So Joey Lucchesi comes up last night. Yeah, sure, he throws 7 innings, and he throws a gem. He was great. By the way, I was watching that game after I got back from the Orioles game. He was tossing 90-91 and just getting Giants out. I don't know what's going on with the Giants this year, but it's...
they're not very good. Their best player...
They're not very good.
Their best player is Jock Peterson, who so many people wanted Jock Peterson in Baltimore, and I was like, the year that he just had is his best overall year ever.
Yeah, it was.
He's not going to do that again.
I did not want Jock Peterson
I was
in Baltimore.
like, he hit 279 or something like that last year with 27 home runs.
Yeah, it was really good,
but literally, when he has his good years, it's immediately followed by a mediocre or worse year.
Yep.
I have no doubts that Jock Peterson's going to hit 230 with 23 home runs this year. And he's going to strike out 170 times.
With Jock Peterson, he's always going to hit home runs, but there's, the on-base percentage, the batting average, sure to drop. The one thing I have left on this topic is that I'm not a big proponent of banning sticky stuff. I think the whole thing last year, and doing it in the middle of the year as they did, was a little bit weird. And now you've got guys being checked after every single inning. I think it made the game more fun. You see Corbin Burns throwing these ridiculous sliders, Garrett Cole throwing. Guys are made better by it. I get that, and it's an unfair advantage in some ways. But I think it just makes the game more fun. And to ban Max Scherzer from the league for 10 days, to suspend him for 10 days over what probably wasn't even sticky stuff, is just it's a travesty. And then the Mets rule again. I don't like that either. But there's a number of things I'm upset with here. I just think the whole situation's not really a great look for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Max Scherzer is arguably one top 3-4 pitchers in the game right now, despite being 40 years old.
Yeah,
which
is unreal, by the way.
And that he doesn't need to. He's won 3 Cy Youngs, and he's won 1 in each league.
Yeah.
He doesn't need sticky stuff. And he's not at this point in his career, he's not gonna do anything to tarnish his legacy. He ain't Roger Clemens.
That's part of my point too.
I have no doubts, and you saw how adamant he was.
Yeah.
They made him switch gloves. He switched gloves. They checked the new glove. They made him.
He washed it off.
He washed it off. They sent him back in. He did this in front of a Major League official. He comes out. They're checking him again. It was almost like they had a vendetta against him. Not that I think that they did, but and I think it's worth noting again that Phil Cuzzi is the only umpire that's ever ejected a pitcher for having a substance, and he's done it 3 times.
Paul, I'm curious actually because you pitch. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about the rule. And this is not really related, but that you can't lick your finger and then go straight to the ball. You have to wipe it on your pants first. Mm-hmm. When I pitched in high school, I thought that was a ridiculous rule because when it was 30 degrees out, as it was a lot in March when we started playing, that it's not really easy to grip a baseball without doing that. Is that part of a rule you'd like to see amended too?
I have never done anything like that to pitch.
You've never licked your hand before?
I've never licked my finger,
really?
my hand to pitch. Okay. I've never used a substance. I've used rosin.
Mm-hmm.
I've used rosin.
I actually never did.
or I'll take mud, or I'll take dirt from the mound and I'll rub it on the baseball,
Okay.
and then I'll rub the ball down. But I've never licked my fingers to throw a pitch. I've never done anything like that. Even if it's like, if I'm in the middle of a game and maybe I have sweat like on my face somewhere, or if it's cold and I have a little something come out of my nose and I have to wipe it real quick, I will always wipe my hand on my pants, just instinctively. Yeah. I've never used a substance to. I sound like Barry Bonds. I've never used a substance to throw a pitch.
We've noticed over the last 3 years the batter on your head has slightly gotten bigger as we've gone on.
Which head? That's a
oh,
topic
man.
for another day.
Grayson, the big rod.
The big rod. The big rod. No, so if a guy licks his finger, I don't think that licking your fingers is going to do enough to do anything to make the ball move.
That's what I think too.
Significantly. Now,
I've always thought that rule
if
was
a guy
horrible.
just sitting here spitting on the
that's
baseball,
different story.
Okay, but the spider tack stuff that they used. Did you see that? That's the spider tack.
Oh, it was crazy.
I mean, I think it was a clear indictment on it when there was a ball when Yadier Molina was catching in a game. There was a pitch that was bounced in, and somebody stole a base on it, and he couldn't find the baseball because it had so much sticky stuff on it. It stuck to his chest protector.
Wow. Yeah.
It stuck, and he couldn't find it. He didn't realize it was stuck to his chest protector.
I'll ask this, though. Since they banned the sticky stuff, have you seen a drastic difference in offense?
In offense, I haven't paid attention, but I've noticed Garrett Cole's gotten significantly worse.
Garrett Cole has, for sure. And there are many other
and
pitchers.
Paul Fry.
Yeah, Paul Fry is a great example. Corbin Burns is also he's still a great pitcher, but with sticky stuff, Corbin Burns was one of the most nasty pitchers I've ever watched in my life. But I think that I don't see a drastic difference in offense. And that's why I'm not a huge proponent of banning it. You're not seeing, 50 more home runs a year. And maybe you are. I mean, I'm not looking at the numbers for this. I'd have to find the numbers, and I don't know if that's even a thing that we can find. But I guess you'd have to look up the sample sizes of, 100 games before and 100 games after and compare them. But I don't know. It's not, to me, a huge issue.
I don't know. I'd have to look. I'd have to start specifically paying attention. I do think offense is up this year, but that has to do with
a lot of stolen bases too.
A lot of stolen bases. They banned the shift, so you're getting more base hits, and you can't throw over more than twice without getting charged with the ball if you don't pick the guy off the third time. I do think that the baseball is a little juiced again this year to add to the offense. So I think the offense is up, but I don't know if it's more so because of the rule changes that they've implemented, or if it is because of the sticky stuff. Now, they banned the sticky stuff starting in, I believe it was June of 2021.
I think that sounds right.
Right?
Yeah.
So if it was June of 2021, and I noticed that John Means after that got a little worse for a little bit. Garrett Cole definitely got worse. And you know what? That brings me up. That brings a point to me. I want to ask you. So we were talking, I was on Twitter last weekend. I believe it was Sunday, Grayson Rodriguez's start.
Okay.
And Garrett Cole threw like a 2-hit shutout. And some guy I
think I saw this, yeah.
They were talking about I referred to Dylan Cease as a Cy Young favorite.
Yes, I did see this.
And the guy was like,
in what world is he a Cy Young favorite?
In the world where he finished second in Cy Young voting last year, led the American League, I believe in ERA and in strikeouts last year, and he was dominant his first few starts this year. And he's like, Garrett Cole has to be the Cy Young favorite. And I'm like, Garrett Cole isn't even the best pitcher on his own team.
Garrett Cole hasn't really been a top 5 pitcher for 3 years.
His ERA is like
since he was in Houston.
His ERA is like .64 right now, or something like that, or .94.
Okay,
but he's going today against the Blue Jays, and a lot of Blue Jays have had a lot of success against Garrett Cole. To me, Nestor Cortez was worth 2 more wins.
He was better.
Than Garrett Cole last year. Rodon, whenever the hell he comes back, I think he's better than Garrett Cole at this point. He just has to be able to stay healthy.
I think there are a lot of pitchers better than Garrett Cole. Through 4 starts, he has a .95 ERA, and his WHIP is .741. That's incredible.
Now, who has he faced? Look up his game log. Who has he faced?
Okay, I can do that. Let's see. So far, he's had the Giants, the Phillies, the Guardians, and the Twins in his 4 games so far.
The Phillies are the only offense that I think out of those 4 that's formidable. The Twins have a couple of good players. The Guardians have
through a complete game against the complete game shutout against the Twins.
I I mean, Carlos Correa isn't hitting yet, and Joey Gallo's. He might be their best overall offensive player right now, and he's Joey Gallo, right? Name somebody on the Twins that is having an offensive season that's anything other than mediocre.
I can't think of one.
I mean, you could look up. If you wanted, you could look up their.
They're not
roster
having the offense has not been going for them so far.
No,
You're right.
So I don't know.
Gave up 2 runs to Cleveland over 7.
I think Cleveland's got a good offense. I wouldn't consider them great. I don't see anybody.
Especially with Josh Bell struggling as he is.
Yeah, Josh Bell's struggling. Jose Ramirez is obviously
He's
their
been
best
really
player.
good, yeah.
I haven't heard anything about Steven Kwan. How's he doing?
Steven Kwan has been okay. And then you look at who's the name I'm looking for here? Josh Naylor, has hit a few home runs early in the year, but the average always dips down for Josh Naylor. But yeah, Steven Kwan right now, his OBP is 352, but he's only batting 247. So
he's a singles hitter.
He's a singles hitter. He's a good leadoff hitter. He gets on base, walks a lot. Andres Jimenez is always good. Last year, a 7.3 WAR player. Andres Jimenez was. Last year, he hit 297, 17 home runs, 837 OPS. This year, he's off to a good start. 278. 350 on base percentage, so he's been off to a good start. But yeah, last year Andres Jimenez 7.4 WAR player. So there are some guys in that
7.5
WAR player. Yeah.
Holy crap!
There are some guys in that Cleveland lineup, and he's already at 1 this year. Jimenez.
I think that team has a good young offense.
Oh, they do.
I
they do.
And their pitching staff is really good.
Will Brennan, Oscar Gonzalez, there are some guys. It's just going to take a little while, I think, for some of these guys to develop. But Jose Ramirez leads the offense, day in, day out. And then once Bo Naylor comes up, is Josh Naylor's brother, and gives him a little bit of a boost at the catcher position. By the way, Logan Allen making his major league debut today for the Guardians. The second Logan Allen to pitch for the Guardians.
I was gonna say Logan Allen. Wasn't he a reliever?
There was a Logan Allen who came up for the Guardians, I think 3 years ago or so, and then he was an Oriole at one point. The Orioles claimed him off waivers. This is a different Logan Allen, a much, much better Logan Allen, and one they expect to be a 1 or 2. A 1 or 2. He's going to be, based on his minor league numbers, he's been excellent. Been a top prospect, top 100 guy for a while. This is going to be a guy who's going to do well in the major leagues. So he'll make his major league debut today.
Nice. All right.
You don't seem that enthused by that.
No,
or maybe. So actually, I'm corrected. Bieber and Plesac go in a doubleheader today. I thought it was going to be Logan Allen today, but he is coming up. He is getting called up. We'll see when he actually makes his debut.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. We're going to get into more about young pitchers, about the Orioles, about the league in general.
Sunday,
but
you're
first, brought to you by the Toyota Tacoma, which comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. It is now the payoff pitch around. Hang on. Sorry. Let me start that
around the league.
The payoff pitch around the league. Tyler Wells became the third straight Orioles starter to toss at least 6 shutout innings, going 7 for the home team, and Austin Hayes homered. But it was It was Adam Frazier's walk-off fielder's choice grounder in the bottom of the 9th to score Ryan Mountcastle to put the Orioles over the Tigers 2-1. Drew Smiley took a perfect game into the 8th inning and struck out 10, while Cody Bellinger and Trey Mancini hit back-to-back home runs to lead the Cubs to a one-hitter victory over the Dodgers 13-0. Connor Joe had 3 hits, and Mitch Keller allowed 2 runs in 6 solid innings to improve the surprise Pirates to 14-7 with a 4-2 win over the Reds. Tampa Bay scored 3 runs in the 9th, the last 2 coming on a Brandon Lau walk-off home run as the MLB best 17-3 Rays stunned the White Sox 8-7 at the Trop. Vladdy homered and drove in 2, Brandon Belt homered and drove in 4, and Yusei Kikuchi continued his resurgence, tossing 6 innings of 1-run ball to improve to 3-0 as the Blue Jays stymied the Yankees 6-1. Kyle Schwarber homered in the 7th to tie the game at 3, and then Mundo Sosa lined an RBI single to left in the 8th to lead the Phillies past the Rockies 4-3. The Marlins and Guardians were postponed. The game will be made up as part of a doubleheader today, with the first game beginning at 3:10 Eastern Standard Time. Yordan Alvarez did what Yordan Alvarez does, playing the hero once again with a go-ahead 2-run homer in the top of the 9th to lead the Astros over the Braves 6-4. The A's got 11 Ks from J.P. Sears, but it was Jordan Diaz with a pinch hit home run in the top of the 9th that stole the show, pushing the A's past the first-place Rangers 5-4. Alex Verdugo proved to be the difference for the Red Sox, doubling and homering and driving in 2 as Boston took down the Brewers Brewers 5-3. Trevor Williams allowed 2 runs over 6 innings, and Joey Meneses homered as the Nationals stopped the Twins 3-2. Shohei Ohtani struck out 11 while allowing just 2 hits and 7 shutout innings, and catcher Chad Wallach had a 2-run homer to provide all the scoring in a 2-0 Angels victory over the Royals. Ketel Marte had 3 hits and 2 RBIs, and Zach Gallen struck out, you guessed it, 11 over 7 shutout innings in the D-backs 9-0 victory over the Padres. Teoscar Hernandez homered and doubled, and George Kirby tossed 6 solid innings as the Mariners took down the Cardinals 5-2. And finally, Will Lucchesi struck out 9 over 7 shutout innings, and Pete Alonso hit his 10th home run, driving in 4 as the Mets shut out the Giants 7-0. A couple of things. Lot of really, really good pitching performances yesterday.
Yeah.
Like Tyler Wells went 7 shutout innings, and it was like the 5th best performance of the day. The Cardinals and the Mariners really underperforming to this point.
And the Dodgers as well.
But
who lost 13-0 to the Cubs yesterday.
Stan has been talking about the Dodgers, about how he thinks they're a middling team. And so far, they're 10-10.
Yeah.
So far, he's right. And then you also look at how in the hell are the Pittsburgh Pirates 14-7? 14-7 leading the
It's
NL
hard to
Central.
believe. It's hard to believe. The Cardinals have been really bad, and they'll turn it around. They're one of those teams where I'm pretty confident they will be back.
Yeah, they're 8-12.
Jack Flaherty's been really good too.
Yeah, they're 8-12. You have to believe that Steven Matz is going to get better.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Goldschmidt's hitting 296. Arenado's hitting 291. Where's Tyler O'Neill? Is he hurt?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I haven't heard or seen any. I mean, this is a guy who was a 6.5 win player 2 years ago. Yeah. Last year, absolutely fell off a cliff, and now I haven't heard from him this year, and he's not in the lineup. I mean, Walker, Jordan Walker.
He's been really good.
He's been really good. I think he started the year, his career on like a 14-game hitting streak.
Yeah, he's 20 years old.
And he's hitting 271. Drove in two last night with a double. Yeah. But it's amazing to me just how off kilter this season seems to start. I mean, the Texas Rangers are leading the AL West. The Mariners, who made the playoffs last year, they're 9-11. The Astros are 10-10. It just kind of seems
it's been
backwards.
a weird start to the year, and that's why April baseball is so confusing because Tim Beckham looked like a couple years ago, and we talked about Eric Thames as the greatest player of all time in April. Tim Beckham looked like he was going to win MVP a couple Aprils ago. So things are weird. It just these things even out, and it'll happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Zach. What's on tap across Major League Baseball?
As we alluded to, Garrett Cole goes today at home against the Blue Jays. Alek Manoah will go for them 105 in the Bronx. Chad Kuhl, he'll take on Pablo Lopez. Lopez has got a 1.7 ERA so far. He's been really good. 210 target field, Nats and Twins. Dodgers and Cubs will go Dustin May, Hayden Wesneski, 220 at Wrigley. Kyle Freeland, Christopher Sanchez, who makes his first start of the year. Rockies and Phillies, 305 at Citizens Bank Park in Philly. Marlins starting to be determined. Guardians starting Shane Bieber, 310 in Cleveland at Progressive Field. Braxton Garrett in Game 2. Zach Plesac will go for the Guardians at Progressive Field, to be determined on the time, but that's Game 2 of the Marlins-Guardians doubleheader. And again, Logan Allen will make his Major League debut tomorrow, so excuse me on that one. David Peterson for the Mets. He'll take on Logan Webb for the Giants, 405 in San Fran at Oracle Park. Dylan Cease, who is never in a Cy Young conversation, according to that guy on Twitter, against Shane McClanahan, who's always in the Cy Young conversation, 405 at the Trop, White Sox and Rays. Luis Sessa takes on Rich Hill, Reds and Pirates, 635 at PNC Park. Joey Wentz takes on the Orioles as they'll start Kyle Gibson, 705 at Camden Yards right here in Baltimore. Tigers and Orioles. I swear, Shintaro Fujinami pitches every single Saturday. I'm always saying this guy's name on Saturday. He'll take on Andrew Heaney, A's and Rangers, 705 at Globe Life Field. Athletics look to improve on 4-16. Red Sox and Brewers, Garrett Whitlock against Wade Miley, 710 at American Family Field.
Wade Miley,
old friend. Framber Valdez will take on Kyle Wright, 720 at Truist Park, Astros and Braves. Joe Musgrove goes for the Padres. Merrill Kelly goes for the D-backs, 810 at Chase Field. Royals and Angels. Zach Greinke, the legendary Royal, will take on Tyler Anderson. 9:07 as the Royals take on the Angels at Angel Stadium in Anaheim. And final game of the night at 9:40, we're going to see Miles Michaelis and Luis Castillo, who's been one of the best pitchers. .73 ERA this year for Luis Castillo. Cardinals and Mariners at T-Mobile Park.
Wade freaking Miley, man.
Yeah. 1.5 ERA so far.
2-1 with a 1.5
Yeah.
ERA, a .94 WHIP. He's thrown 18 innings in 3 starts.
Yeah.
2 of his 3 outings, he's thrown a shutout.
Yeah.
What the hell? Am I the only one still butthurt about how bad he was?
No,
in Baltimore?
you're definitely not the only one. No.
Like he was awful. He was awful in Baltimore. Let's look at his career stats. Okay, so in 2016, after being traded to Baltimore, if this will let me do this,
By the way,
he was 2-5 with a 6.17 ERA in 11 starts. Then in
Yeah.
2017 in Baltimore, 8-15, 5.61 ERA in 32 starts. Since then, 2018 with Milwaukee, 5-2, 2.57 ERA in 16 starts. 2019 with Houston, 3.98 ERA, 14-6 in 33 starts. 2021 in Cincinnati, 12-7 with a 3.37 ERA, including a no-hitter. Last year, he only had 9 games, 8 starts, but 2-2 with a 3.16 ERA. And then this year, 3-3, 3 starts, 2-1, 1.50 ERA. Why was he the worst pitcher in the history of baseball in Baltimore, and then he becomes Cy Young everywhere else after that?
It's hard to believe. You know what else is hard to believe? That Shintaro Fujinami is only pitched on Saturdays. 4 straight Saturdays, Shintaro Fujinami. I swear, it's every Saturday this guy pitches. So I don't know what that
Sounds like a Mortal Kombat character.
It's a great name, but his ERA is 11.37 so far. So
maybe they need to get him off Saturdays.
yeah, maybe the Saturdays aren't working out for him. But yeah, he got signed to a $3.25 million deal. I don't even remember that happening this year, but came over from Japan. So a little rough start to his major league career.
Speaking of a pitcher from Japan, Yusei Kikuchi. Last year he was terrible, got
Yep.
relegated to the
Yep.
bullpen. This year he's 3-0. He's got like a 3.9 ERA or something like that. Tossed 6 solid
good.
innings, 6 innings of 1-run ball last night. To me, like, how do you turn these guys around like that? Because I remember in 2020, Martin Perez was one of the Red Sox starters, and he was terrible.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Texas, and all of a sudden he's one of the best starters in the American League.
Yeah.
Like, how in the blue hell does that happen? How are you so freaking awful that people just give up on you, and then the next year you're Cy Young?
It's hard to believe. By the way, there is a pitching matchup today. I just got off the page, but there was a pitching matchup today. I think it's Dylan Cease versus someone else. Oh, it's Shane McClanahan. That's who it is. Cease and McClanahan. That's an incredible pitching matchup today.
And you know Cease is going to bounce back.
Yeah,
After last Sunday where he walked, what was it? What did he walk, 5?
I think he walked 5, but that's like his normal numbers. Like his walks per 9 right now is like 4.5, so that's not too far off. He can pitch a gem and still walk 5. That's the crazy thing about Dylan Cease.
Yeah, well, DL Hall.
We'll see.
DL Hall.
We'll see.
He struck out 5 in 5 innings last night. 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks.
2 runs though over 5. Okay.
I mean,
it's not bad. I want to see him dominate. I really want to see him throw 6 shutout innings and get
it's
like
a sub 4
11
ERA.
strikeouts.
It's a 3.60 ERA.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, if somebody in the Orioles rotation finishes the year with a 3.60 ERA, you're like, sign him to a 5-year extension. You know, so look, I want to see him dominate, but they're still building him up. He threw 85 pitches last night, 54 strikes. I think he's doing fine. Okay. He's been mediocre to bad in 2 starts, and he's been pretty good in 2 starts. So I think he's going to get a handful more starts before they decide what they want to do with it moving forward. But I think he's trending in the right direction. Anyway, the payoff pitch around the league and what's on tap have been brought to you by Maryland's minor league ballparks. Have you seen all of Maryland's minor league baseball parks? PressBox is giving you the chance to check all of them out this summer. Head over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest now and sign up to win 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball teams, 1 Easy Pass Maryland on the go transponder preloaded with $25, and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. You must be 18 or older to enter, and the sweepstakes end June 14th. Excuse me, they end June 14th, and you have to be 18 or older. So get over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest right now to sign up. I was going to make a joke at your expense about 18 and just decided not to. Anyway.
Well, I have news for you. I'm not 18 years old.
I know that. I know that. You were just about that when you started the show. You were, 19?
I don't know.
I think you were 19
I was
when
probably
the show
19,
started.
yeah.
I think you were 19 when the show started. Now,
Wild.
And now you're
Wild.
Now you're drinking beers. You're out there drinking beers.
Yeah.
You know?
I had a nice Miller Lite at the game last night.
Ew.
What?
Ew.
What are you talking about?
Miller Lite, Coors Light, Bud Light, the worst by a wide margin is Miller Lite.
No.
It is swill.
Coors is the worst by far. Oh, yeah. Coors is the worst by far.
Miller Lite, I might as well be sticking a straw in a urine.
Paul, get your head out from under a rock. Come on.
No. Miller Lite.
Come on.
And you know how I know Miller Lite is
Coors Light
terrible?
tastes like water.
I would rather my beer taste like water than like piss from the urinal in the bathroom.
This is blasphemy. You're crazy,
Miller
man.
Lite is
You're
awful.
crazy.
And you know how I know Miller Lite is awful? Because before I turned 21, when all my buddies and I were drinking illegally, we were pounding 30 packs of Miller Lite.
That's so
every Friday and Saturday night.
Clearly, you had more money than most 18-year-old kids. Then I feel like Natty Light is the
you
one
also
you're
forget
referencing
that
here.
I'm like 15. No, I'm like 17. How old are you? 22.
I'm about to turn 22.
You're about to turn 22.
11 days?
In 11
something
days.
Like that.
He's
13 days? Something like that.
He's so young, he still has the countdown. Aw.
Oh, man.
I am damn near 17 years older than you. So you have to know that when I was a young man, when I was a wee young man, Miller Lite was not nearly as expensive as it is now. Nothing was nearly as expensive as it is now.
AJ, by the way, AJ in the comments thinks I look younger than Jackson Holiday. That is a bold statement.
No, you do not.
I do not agree with that. You haven't seen me off camera. I think that would help maybe. You'd have to see me next to Jackson Holiday. I mean, he's a much bigger man than I am, but
I don't know. If you stood next to Jackson Holiday,
he's a lot taller than me.
Because he's taller than you, and he's got more muscle than you. No offense, and he's got more.
Oh
muscle
well, I would
than
hope
you.
he would. He's a 1-1. I would hope he would.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
How tall is Jackson Holiday? I'm curious.
I think he's 6'1".
Yeah.
I think he's about 190 pounds.
It's probably right. By the way, and he said, "Did you just call me lady?" No, I called you AJ. AJ is what I called you. That so to clear things up. But no, I think he probably let's find Jackson Holiday's height here. He's 6 foot, so he's 1 inch taller than me. And he weighs more than me too. So
how much does he weigh?
He weighs 185.
How much do you weigh?
165.
He's got 20 pounds and 1 inch on you.
He does.
I don't know.
I would hope he would. I mean,
know
this guy's
what Jackson Holiday's face looks like.
This is what, to be clear, I don't know if you can see this, Paul, but this is what Jackson Holiday looks like. I mean, I don't know, man.
He looks like one of those, like a Cabbage Patch doll. You remember the Cabbage Patch dolls? No, you don't, because they
of course I know what that is. Of course. Oh, yeah.
They stopped selling them before you were born.
Nah, that's not true.
Nah.
Where's the show going, man? Where's the show going?
Off the rails, that's where. Off
apparently.
The rails. So I do want to talk about the Orioles. It's time for Orioles banter. They're 12-7, winners of 4 straight, and 8 of 10. They're doing what they should be doing, and that's beating up on lesser competition, right? So they win 3 of 4 from the Athletics. They win 2 of 3 from the White Sox in a way that we didn't expect. Then they win 2 straight in a small series sweep of the Nationals, and then they win the first game against the Tigers, who, by the way, won 5 of 6 against the Orioles last year. So there's some payback that the Orioles need to instill upon the or enforce upon the Tigers. But they've won 8 of 10. What does this team need to take that next step? Because it's not going to get easier, right? So I think that let's take a look at their schedule here, because I do think that the schedule is fairly favorable for them moving forward, because they have these 3 against Detroit. Then they have Boston coming in for 3, and then I think they go to Detroit for 4 games before going to Kansas City. So let's see. Yes, it's Detroit, Boston, Detroit, Kansas City, and then the first weekend in May, they have Atlanta, followed by Tampa Bay, followed by the 14-7 Pittsburgh Pirates, followed by the Angels, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Rangers, the Guardians to close out May. So this team is going to have a gauntlet coming up in about 2 weeks, right? So in order to... Well, first of all, when you looked at the schedule and you saw the first 28 games, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this team can go 19-9 in the first month of the season," and that'll get them off to a really nice start. I think that's. I'm not going to say it's likely, but it's feasible. They would have to go 7-2 the rest of the way this month, right?
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't say it's entirely realistic, but we'll see.
I mean, they've won 8 of their last 10.
They have.
You know? And they're facing Boston at home, Detroit, and then Kansas City. But to get to Atlanta, Tampa Bay, the Yankees, the Angels, the Rangers, the Guardians, and come out with your head above, not just your head above water, but not losing any ground. You want to not lose ground in May. You don't have to. I think it's unrealistic to expect them to gain ground. But if you play 500 baseball in May after playing 600 baseball in June, it bodes well. In April, it bodes well for you going into an easier June month. What do the Orioles need to take that next step and become one of the better teams against the better teams?
I think the bench needs to give them more.
Yeah.
I think the bench needs to give him a lot more. Ryan McKenna's got to give him more. If he's going to start against lefties, and if he's going to come into the game against lefties like he did last night and replace Terrin Vavra, he's got to get hits. He's got to do something. Terrin Vavra, same thing. If you're gonna make starts, you got to do something. He's batting below 200 right now. The OBP is, probably 230 right now. These guys have got to give them more. James McCann, I don't necessarily expect that much from because he wasn't very good the last 2 years, frankly. He was really, really good in 2019, but that's years past now. So James McCann never should bat fourth again. But when he does play, I don't expect a ton from him. But guys like McKenna, guys like Vavra, these are the guys that need to actually come through and give them more. Those are your two key bench players that have got to turn it around. Well, I think that's going to turn this ball club into a much better club if they can produce.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody about this last night during the game. Ryan McKenna comes in to face a lefty. He immediately strikes out. He's now 2 for 9 with 5 strikeouts against left-handed pitching this year. And he only plays against left-handed pitching. Mm-hmm. So, God, I just feel like Brendan Hyde fell victim to a hot stretch from McKenna because coming into this year, McKenna's career against left-handed pitching is a 206 hitter.
Yeah.
And then
I know.
And then this year he's hitting 222 against him.
Yeah.
He's hitting 222 against him and has struck out 5 times. I understand. They don't and the point was made to me that if the Orioles had a right-handed outfielder that they could trust to get to bat against left-handed pitching and produce, Ryan McKenna wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right? Or a guy who had reverse splits like a Kyle Stowers. I think Kyle Stowers would put up better numbers than McKenna to this point in the year.
Probably.
And I get McKenna is faster and he plays better defense supposedly. But we've seen him botch 3 different plays.
We have.
This year.
I don't think Ryan McKenna is as good of a defender as people make him out to be.
I hate the way he catches the ball.
I do too. It's very awkward process. Yeah.
You watch Mullins and Hayes catch a fly ball with one hand. Look, the whole catch it with 2 hands. That's a fallacy. You don't catch a baseball with 2 hands to secure the ball. You catch a baseball with 2 hands to get a quick transfer to your throwing hand if you need to throw.
The only time you're using 2 hands is if you're trying to block out the sun. I'll give you that, but you're not doing that much. I mean, that's not that often.
And even then, that's not 2 hands on the glove. That's 1 hand blocking the sun. But when you watch Hayes and Mullins catch the ball with 1 hand, they're catching it right above their face. Right above their head. It's coming straight down to them. The ball's going into that glove. They're watching it all the way into the glove.
Yeah.
McKenna catches the ball next to his ear.
Yeah.
Over his left shoulder. You don't see the ball go into the glove from that angle.
Yeah.
You are watching it, and then you're not looking at the ball when it goes in the glove. You're just assuming it's going to land there.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like he does it intentionally sometimes to rub it in our faces. Like, hey, I'm going to catch this even though you don't think I am. Like, especially the first one that was hit like that after the drop, it seemed like he caught it the exact same way, and it seemed almost intentional.
Yeah, I think people can fall victim to it because usually you equate a good runner and a good mover like Ryan McKenna is to a good defender. But that's not always the case. I think there's a lot that goes into hands and footwork and all the things that he does, and I don't think he's that good at it. I really don't. He's probably, to me, he's an average defender. I wouldn't say he's a plus defender in any way, to me.
Yeah, I mean...
He's fast, and that gives him good range, but I don't think his hands are that good. And we've seen that. We've seen it on multiple occasions. Ryan McKenna, to me, does not add much value to this team. He just does not.
I just went to Google on my phone to search Ryan McKenna, and before I even typed in his name, he was the first name to pop up.
You've been searching up a lot of Ryan McKenna lately.
I have. I looked him up last night to find out his stats. By the way, he's 3 for 15 this year with a 278 on base percentage. He's got a 544 OPS. But sure, let's keep playing this guy. Let's just keep doing that.
It's frustrating. It's a guy that probably is one of the better runners in this team. By the way, his sprint speed in percentile wise is still slower than Ryan Mountcastle at the moment, which is wild to me, but that's the case. But he's a guy who you would call a better mover. He's a more fluid mover, a better runner than Ryan Mountcastle is. His straight line speed just isn't quite.
Defensive runs saved. He's at on the year he's 0.
Yeah,
he was 22 in right field last year. Defensive runs saved.
22.
I mean, that's what that means, right?
Hold up. Let me do a little research here.
The number of runs above or below average the player is worth based on the number of plays made. Yeah, he was at 22 in right field last year. The year before, he was negative 32 in right field. So I don't know what the hell the deal is.
I'm gonna find out if you give me a few minutes here. I'm gonna try to do my best to find out.
This isn't the Ryan McKenna show. I want to move on from Ryan McKenna. I want to talk about Grayson Rodriguez because he came out last Sunday and he's going up against Dylan Cease. And now in his 3 starts, he has faced Jacob deGrom and Dylan Cease, 2 Cy Young hopefuls, in 2 of his 3 starts. And he comes out and immediately gives up a 3-run homer and a solo shot in the first inning. He's down 4-0 before the Orioles even got their second plate appearance of the game. And then the rest of the way, he gives up nothing.
So, by the way, I have the numbers for the Fielding Bible. This is the one that gives out the Fielding Bible Award. They have Ryan McKenna last year at 3 defensive runs saved. So, I mean, he was positive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean,
what about this year?
This year so far, I can look that up. Adley Rutschman, by the way, last year looks like 24, something along those lines.
He's insanely good at everything he does.
Incredibly good. Let's see where they have McKenna here. He's at 0. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big 5-0. big 5-0.
I mean,
But that was Ryan McKenna overall. What was he in right field?
Okay.
Last year, because what I said was he was.
Well, this only shows overall, I think. So
okay.
We won't dig too much deeper.
Yeah.
But.
So I use Baseball Reference a lot, but it said his defensive run saved in right field this year or last year was 22.
Okay.
This year you've seen him play everywhere, but the big mistake. Well, the drop came in left field. He played a double into a triple in right field last week against the Athletic. So. I don't know. I don't care. I want him off the team. Anyway, Grayson Rodriguez, 4 runs in the first inning of his last start, nothing the rest of the way. Struck out 8 batters, walked just 2. I think he walked 2 in that game. 3 straight starts, 3 straight leadoff men walked by Grayson Rodriguez. But, man, that changeup was filthy last week after the first inning. He was so good. And he's getting another start on Sunday. I will be in attendance with my beautiful bride. What are we thinking about Grayson Rodriguez? How do you expect him to perform moving forward? And we actually only have a few minutes to talk about this.
Definitely going to be some rough starts for him, I think. And you've seen that first inning be the big thing that he can't get through. The sliders looked really good, and the changeup actually looked the best it has from all of his starts so far this year. The changeup is the best in the last outing. The sliders looked really good all the way around. The fastball, he's still got some location issues with it, but mostly he's just trying to nibble, I think, and that's part of the problem. So when he does throw it and gets it in the spot he wants, he's getting it on the blacks. That's good news. But he's going to have a few more rough outings. I'm going to tell you right now. It's not going to all turn around for him. Just because he was good from the second inning on doesn't mean it's going to be like that from now on. I think he's going to take his lumps, and it might be a rough year for him overall. But I think maybe by the end of the year, we'll start to see progress and things will change.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up being their best pitcher sooner rather.
I don't know. Tyler Wells has been dominant.
Yeah, but
dominant.
Yeah. I think he's going to end up being. No. Don't call him. Don't call him. We're taking a break.
Just find the number.
We got to take a break first before we call him. You find the number during the break. But we actually do have to catch a break right now. We are really, really behind. So we're going to do that. We're going to catch a break when we come back in from the Athletic. Dan Connolly, he's next on the Bat Around.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
I'm Griffin Bass, and I have the extraordinary, mind-blowing, and life-affirming pleasure of being the new producer for the absolute funniest, smartest, and most handsome sports host in all of Baltimore. Wait a second, Glenn, I'm working for you, not Jeremy Kahn. If you're not listening to Glenn Clark Radio, here's what you're missing.
He's Coach Kevin Willard.
Glenn, thanks for having me.
Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Rashad Bateman.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
He is outfielder Cedric Mullins.
Thank you guys for having me.
Mr. Marcus Williams, who's now with us.
Man, appreciate it. Happy to be on.
Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Thanks for having me.
Adley Rutschman.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
John Angelos.
Thanks a lot. Good to be with you.
Ryan Mountcastle.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Marlon Humphrey.
Thank you.
Talia Tungavailoa.
Thank you guys for having me.
He is J.K. Dobbins.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
The great Ray Lewis.
Always good to be on.
He is Mr. Cal Ripken Jr.
Good chatting with you.
Watch Glenn Clark Radio at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or anytime on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back in, rolling right along here on the Bat Around. Today's show brought to you by PressBox's Minor League Contest. PressBox is giving you the chance to check out all of Maryland's minor league ballparks this summer. Head over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest now and sign up to win 4 tickets to each of the local minor league baseball teams, 1 Easy Pass Maryland on-the-go transponder preloaded with $25, and a $50 gas card from Royal Farms to help you get around. Must be 18 or older to enter, and the sweepstakes end June 14th. So go over to PressBoxOnline.com/contest right now and sign up. Joining us now on the Bat Around, always a great pleasure when we get to talk with this man. Dan Connolly from The Athletic joins us now. Dan, good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're doing really well, especially since the Orioles find themselves at 12-7 on a 4-game winning streak, having won 8 of the last 10 overall. And Dan, it has to do a lot with the starting pitching at this point. Dean Kramer, Kyle Bradish, Tyler Wells have gone 19 2/3 shutout innings the last 3 games. The pitching staff as a whole tossed 34 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings before Bautista's blown save in the 9th last night. What have you seen from this pitching staff, and is it more a product of who they're playing than anything else?
Well, I think that's got to be part of it. I mean, you're talking about, the teams they played. I mean, you take the White Sox are kind of, struggling a little bit, but obviously that was a Sunday lineup, which is always a B lineup, and then you have the Nationals and the Tigers. Before that, you had the A's for 4. You won 3 of 4. You're talking about among the worst offenses in baseball that the Orioles have done this to. Now, that said, they still got to beat them, and they still got to be better than them. And 34 innings scoreless is the 6th longest streak in modern franchise history for the Orioles. So that's impressive. And, I'm a big Tyler Wells guy. I think he arguably was the best pitcher the Orioles had last year, starter-wise, until he got hurt. And I think if he can stay healthy, he's a middle-of-the-rotation guy for some years. And then you got Bradish and Kramer, both of whom have upside, both of whom have really good stuff. It's just a matter of consistency for them. And, they both took advantage of it. I mean, Bradish, was pitching well when he got hurt. When he took the liner off the foot and in those first 2 innings. And I think we want to see what he can do against, some better offenses, because he had a good second half for the Orioles, And Kramer pitched well last year. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that those guys have the ability to be good major league pitchers. It's just a matter of whether they can find the consistency of it and what happens when, they start getting down or they get into trouble or they get behind in counts. But I think you got to be encouraged, because anytime you have pitchers going deep and pitchers, shutting out the opponent, no matter who that opponent is, I think it's a good thing. But again, it's early, and I think you got to, let this all play out. It's not surprising to me that a Bradish or a Kramer can have a good game in the majors. What we need to see now is 3 of them in a row and 4 of them in a row.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it brings me to my next point. The Orioles didn't trade for Cole Irvin to have him in the minors. They happened to send him down at a time of need when Keegan Aiken was going on the paternity list. He hadn't given them much, and they needed to get some length from their bullpen if they needed it. So they brought up Spencer Watkins, took advantage of an opportunity. Well, now you have 5 guys in your rotation, including Grayson Rodriguez, who were hoping turned a corner after the first inning against the White Sox last week. 5 guys who seem to be pitching pretty well for the team right now. If that continues, is there any chance that the Orioles move to a 6-game rotation, because maybe you can't justify taking anybody out of that rotation at this point?
I don't think so, for 2 reasons. One, you're limited to 13 pitchers now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about 7 relievers if you go to a 6-man rotation.
True.
And again, we have not seen these guys go particularly deep. Now, we've seen, obviously more examples of it recently, but I think you have guys who are young and inexperienced, and especially inexperienced. They're not necessarily that young anymore, except for Grayson, but they're inexperienced. And, with inexperience comes some games where they just don't have it and can't figure it out to get to 5 or 6. And you go to a 6-man rotation, you're really limiting that bullpen. And, the bullpen's been somewhat shaky, individuals anyway. You're obviously going to get 2 guys back, hopefully within the next week or 2, to pull in that bullpen in Tate and in Givens. So I think that the 5-man rotation is the way it's going to stay at this point. And honestly, I've been around this game a long time, and no one has too many starters. They just don't. So something's going to happen in the next week or 2 or 3 that'll show, that depth is needed. And so Irvin, was it surprising to me that Irvin was sent down? Absolutely. I understand it. And he really was sent down because Bradish was coming off, and they didn't want to, and they wanted to give Rodriguez a little bit more leash. So, he had a 10 ERA and 3 starts. So, I think he's a major league pitcher. I think he should be fine, and I think we'll see him again. But when, I think it all depends on what the other 5 guys do.
Yeah, no, and honestly, that's the way it should be. You shouldn't just give Cole Irvin the spot back in the rotation just because you traded for him. He's got to earn it. And so far, so good. A 3 ERA through 1 start down in the minors, 6 innings, 2 runs allowed. Now, you mentioned the bullpen there, and the bullpen was shaky to start the year, but over the last week or so, they seem to have really settled in. Yanier Cano and Mike Ballman have stabilized things in the back end of the bullpen. Brian Baker seems to have picked up where he left off last year. Felix Bautista's Felix Bautista. When Dylan Tate and Michael Givens come off the IL, who goes? Perez has no options. You want to give him a longer leash based off of what he did last year. Voth has no options, but he's also retired 9 straight. Keegan Aiken would seem to be the most likely guy, but how do you make room for both of these guys? Is Cano going back down?
Yeah, 2 weeks, like you actually just said it in your opening, and 2 weeks in the relief world is forever.
Mm-hmm.
So Cano may struggle. So there could be an injury that pops up. Bauman may struggle. They may decide that what's hurting Perez is some type of soreness or fatigue or something. Who knows? So I kind of got out of the prediction game on this simply because the bullpen in particular, it's so fluid. And so, they'll figure it out. I don't imagine they will do anything with somebody that does not have options remaining, considering they do have guys with options. And so I would think Cano could go down. But again, he's pitched really well. And if he continues to pitch well, then you're going to want to keep him getting outs in the majors. So you figure they're at least probably 2 weeks away, because the thought is that both Tate and Givens will be, doing some type of rehab next week. And I would imagine they get 3 or 4 or 5 outings then, because you want to get them back. Neither one of those guys really pitched much. Givens pitched some in spring. Tate has not. So I think you're probably looking at 3 weeks until you have to make it, or 2 weeks anyway, that you have to make a real decision. And again, Paul, those things have a way of working themselves out.
Yeah, that's how baseball goes. They always seem to work themselves out. So it's usually much ado about nothing. Now, we hope it's much ado about nothing with Gunnar Henderson. The bat's starting to come alive a little bit. He's 4 for his last 14 over the past handful of games. But the on-base percentage is there. He's walking a lot, but he's not getting a lot of hits. He's been bouncing between short and third. The defensive shortcomings have been noted at third base, at least to start this year, mostly on the throwing side of things. Do you think that he should really be stuck at one position, and do you think that it has anything to do with his struggles, or is it just a matter of a young kid learning the game at the big league level?
I think it's the latter. I mean, I wrote a column today in The Athletic about that specifically, about Gunnar Henderson. Talk to Gunnar and, kind of trying to put some perspective to it. And I'm not worried at all about this kid. For one, you see the walks, a 370 on-base percentage, and you know that he knows the game. He can figure it out. His exit velocity is almost the exact same as it was last year, 92 miles an hour. So I don't think we would worry too much about him. He's not barreling up balls as much as he did last year. But baseball is hard. And I think people just expect guys from the minors to come up and be studs. And in my column today, I pointed out that Brooks Robinson was terrible at the plate his first couple. He actually had 2 stints in the majors before he became a regular in 55 and 56 and was awful in both. Cal Ripken Jr. was terrible in both 81 and the first month of 82. People were talking about sending Nick Markakis down in April, and he never played in the minors after that. Even Adley Rutschman struggled like heck in 20-some games when he got called up. It is a difficult transition, but if these guys are really good players, they'll figure it out. And so therefore, I'm not worried about him offensively at all. He's going to come around. He's been hitting the ball a lot harder recently, and he's going to come around. The one concern I have is because he's a young guy and because he's having some offensive struggles, I would put him in a position and just keep him there. Mm-hmm. And I would not mess around with moving him around, trying to figure out one thing or another. Now, I talked to Brandon Hyde about this in our press conference yesterday, and his thought was what they're doing with him is to try and make him a little bit more comfortable. Yes, he's moving back and forth, but shortstop is his natural position, and that's the position he is most comfortable at. But obviously, you have Mateo, who, frankly, at this point in his career is a better defender at shortstop. So when Mateo's not available, like he hasn't been with the injury recently, he's putting Henderson at shortstop. And he thinks that's going to help Henderson because he's more comfortable there. But when Mateo is there to play, he's got him back at third base. And he thinks he's going to be a good third baseman. I don't like the moving around, but it does make some sense to me. And so, you can pick nits on that one. But I think Gunnar Henderson is going to be a really good player.
I do too.
And even if he struggles for another month or 2 at the plate, I don't care. This kid is going to, what are you going to do? You're going to try to bring up Westberg and see what he looks like? And, it just doesn't make sense to me to move around or think about demoting Henderson, especially at a 37 on-base clip. Just let the kid play, and at the end of the year, you'll look up and be like, okay, this guy's a future piece.
Dan, the ball comes off his bat differently. When he hits a ball into the gap, it shoots off his bat like a missile. I'm with you. I'm not worried about him at all. And you even saw it last year. You mentioned Rutschman. Bobby Witt got off to a really slow start. Julio Rodriguez got off to a really slow start. I'm with you. And I would like to see him play one position, but he's young, he's athletic, he's versatile. I don't think that really has anything to do with the struggles either. Now, I know we got it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and Hyde's point, is the mistakes that he's making, mainly on throws, are rushing the throws because his timing isn't there, because he's never really played this position this often at the highest level. And so these guys run faster. You got to get your clock set, and he's not getting his clock set necessarily, so he's rushing his throws. And I think that's something they feel like can be fixed just with experience, and just with reps there, at the major league level.
I agree, and a lot of it is a double clutching the glove pattern before he throws. They'll get it worked out. Now, Dan, before we let you go, and we're going to do this quickly because I know that you have a limited time with us. We play a game called Take the Rake. I believe you've played it with us before. Zach and I will do our part after we get you going here. But long story short, Steve Molesky won last week when he took Austin Hayes. He went 6 for 20, a triple, a home run, a walk, 2 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. That's a 300 batting average with an 883 OPS for last week, which means, Dan, that as our guest, you get to pick first. Your only rule is you cannot take Austin Hayes because Steve took him last week. Who do you think is going to have the best offensive week for the Orioles this week?
Ooh. I'm a Cedric Mullins believer. Let's go with Ced.
Cedric Mullins. I was going to take him if you didn't. So I think that's a great choice.
Sorry
all right.
about that.
No, quite all right. Dan, we thank you for taking some time for us. We know you're a busy guy, so enjoy the rest of the weekend. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon down the line.
You got it, Paul. Take care of yourself.
See you. That was Dan Connolly joining us from The Athletic. He agreed to do the show, but said he only had about 10 minutes, so I didn't want to keep him any longer than we had to today. And I almost just called him Dan the Fan Connolly.
Dan the Fan.
Dan the Fan Connolly. No, Dan's always great. He has as much intel on the Orioles as anybody going out there today. So thank you, Dan, for joining us on the Bat Around. So Dan Connolly takes Cedric Mullins. Great choice. He's got a 7-game hitting streak. He's hitting right around 400. He's walking a ton. The Orioles trio of Cedric Mullins, Gunnar Henderson, and Adley Rutschman lead all other trios in all of baseball in walks.
And then you're getting walks from Mateo too.
Yeah.
So there's some, up and down the lineup. There's production. The Orioles, by the way, one thing that stood out to me like a sore thumb last night is how much they missed Jorge Mateo. How much they missed him. That game, to me, if Mateo's in that game, there's more offense.
You think
Mateo
so?
is a producer. Mateo has been arguably, fourth best hitter on the team this year, third best hitter. He is, night in, night out.
You can make the argument he's been the second best hitter.
Yeah.
His batting average is tops.
Yeah.
His on-base percentage is second.
Night in, night out, he's making the big hit. Or he's getting on base for the guy to get him in. Jorge Mateo was sorely missed last night. He's a part of that lineup that, because Arias isn't getting it done right now. Vavra and McKenna weren't getting it done at the bottom of the lineup. So Mateo is the guy that would have been there in place of one of them, and he wasn't. So
yeah, it's amazing how good he's been.
Yeah.
I need to see it for an extended period. He's done it for 3 weeks, which is nice. I need to see him do it for 3 months.
Yeah, just one run through 9 innings was making me think, this could really use Jorge Mateo.
If Jorge Mateo gets one hit last night, the Orioles probably score an extra run before
That's
that
what I'm saying.
inning.
That's my point.
Because when he gets on base, he's stealing second.
Right.
And he's going to find a way to score.
Could steal third too. Sure.
Yeah. He's been something else.
Yeah.
He has been. You can make the argument he's been the best shortstop in the American League this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's up there.
And you can make the argument he's one of the top players in the game right now.
Yeah.
Right now, it's April 22nd.
Sure.
If he's still doing this on May 22nd, okay.
Yeah.
Now, he's not going to hit...
I'm definitely not jumping to conclusions about the guy.
He's not going to hit 370, but the changes, from what we've heard, he worked his ass off this offseason. Last year, he hit, which is actually better than his overall average, but he hit 233 against breaking balls last year. I think this year he's something like 8 for 17 against breaking balls. And 2 of his 3 home runs have come on sliders, which he struggled mightily with last year. His swing decision looks better. His plate discipline looks better.
Yeah.
He looks more comfortable at the plate. He puts it. Every ball that he hits at least 1 or 2 balls every game that's 106 plus miles an hour off the bat. He absolutely crushes baseballs. He crushes baseballs. It has been impressive. I'm loving seeing it. He said that he should be back today. He said he thinks he's going to be 100% today. So I expect to see him in the lineup tonight. I'm a Jorge Mateo fan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Jorge Mateo fan. And my whole thing with him last year is if you hit 221, but you get on base at even a 300 clip, that's fine. With the defense you play, the speed that you have, if he's going to hit 270, 280 this year and get on base at a 340 clip.
Which I'm not so sold on. I think he'll probably end up 240, 250. That's what I would think. But still, that's probably like a 310 OBP. And probably, you would think, you would hope. And then that maybe is 25 home runs, 20. I don't know. I mean,
if he hits 20 home runs and he steals 50 bags this year while playing that kind of defense,
he's a 6-WAR player.
He's one of the best players in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's trending towards being an all-star.
Yeah.
I don't know that he will be.
Long way to go. Sure.
But he looks abso-freaking-lutely phenomenal right now.
Yeah.
So does Austin Hayes.
And it just, again, it felt like that lineup last night was missing one big piece, and Mateo has turned himself into that big piece. But the lineup, even with Mateo, is still missing
Jorge,
a big piece.
the big piece, Mateo.
The big piece.
The big piece.
Wow.
The big rod, the big piece.
Yeah.
The big donkey, Adam Dunn.
Yeah. The dong bong.
The dong bong. The Homer hose. It's Homer hose. It's a dong bong.
yeah.
Dong bong.
Dong bong.
Have you ever seen that Will Ferrell, Robert Goulet sketch?
On SNL?
Yeah.
I think I have, yeah.
So I took that and got a lot of hits on it. I took a still frame of that and made my own meme, and it just says, it's when he talks about Cisco's thong song, it's like Robert Goulet sings hits. He goes, thong song. I just changed it from thong song to dong bong, and it was good. And it was good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm
No,
glad.
it's funny.
I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it.
It's funny.
I
It's
agree.
Funny, and it's a dong bong. It's out of Homer.
I agree.
It's a dong.
Despite what the Orioles want to say.
Yeah, it's dong bong. Because I think that they probably were calling it a dong bong, and they were like, "You guys got to be family friendly."
Probably, yeah.
With this.
By the way, the Oriole bird last night was wearing the chain. I noticed that when he ran out on the field after the win and waved the flag at second base, was wearing the Oriole home run chain. So
keep it going.
Maybe they'll be bringing that back at some point. We'll see.
I don't think that they ever sent it away. It just keeps it as part of the Orioles' overall theme. I love this team. Like they piss me off a lot. Well, yeah, people think I hate that. I just want to be miserable and hate the team. I want to see them play complete baseball, which they haven't done to this point.
I was being sarcastic. I think if there's anyone in the world who loves the team, it's Paul Valley. Paul
Thank
Valley loves
you.
the Baltimore Orioles.
Thank you. Which is why. So my
No, you really do. This man owns like 50 Orioles hats.
Yeah.
This man loves the team.
This is the newest one.
I
love this hat.
Yeah. Got the green underbelly.
Yeah, it's cool. Underbelly. Green underbelly.
Underbill, maybe that's a better word for it.
So my stepbrother and I were, my wife and I had a big fight last summer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big one, and I was talking to my stepbrother because he always gives me really great advice, and he's been married a few years longer than I have, and he says to me, your spouse has the ability to get under your skin like no one else.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can bring out a side of you that you never knew you had because they just know how to get under your skin like that. And I liken my relationship with the Orioles to something similar. I love this team more than just about anything but like three other things in my life.
Okay.
Right? And that includes my wife, my dog, and my family.
Okay.
It's my wife, my dog, my family, and...
You sure you love your dog more than the Orioles? I don't know.
Dude, I love that dog so much. I
know.
love that dog so much. He is so awesome. Oh, my gosh. He is so awesome. Anyway, then it's the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles were my first love, my first passion.
Mm-hmm.
So because I love them so much, they are able to get under my skin like no one else because I want the absolute best from this team and for this team. So then when they bat James McCann fourth, or when they lose a game because Ryan McKenna drops a pop-up in left field with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Stuff like that, I don't have a tolerance for it. If they lose a game 5-3 because they just got outplayed, I'm not mad about that. You lost a baseball game, you're going to lose probably 65 more of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. It's when you lose the games that you should have won, or you go into a game giving your team not the best opportunity to win the game based on the lineup and who you're playing in the field that day. That's when I get upset. That game against the Pirates last year, it was game 108. And I remember it because, and I've said this before on the show, it was the game before the last third of their season started. And they had won the first 2 games against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They go out there, they take a 1-0 lead on a Jorge Mateo home run in the 3rd inning, but he started Rougned Odor at third base. Brandon Hyde started the Rougned Odor at third base after when they asked him how he felt about playing third the year before for the Yankees, he said, uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th inning, I'm sorry, it was it was the 5th inning. It was the 5th inning. It was the top of the 5th inning, and Spencer Watkins had retired the first 13 batters he faced. He has a perfect game going into the top of the 5th inning. And a guy hits a chopper to Rougned Odor at third base. He should have fielded that ball in line with the bag. Instead, he fields it on another hop on the back of the infield dirt, basically on the grass behind third base. The guy has an infield hit. 4 straight hits later, the Orioles are down 3-1. They end up losing that game 8-1.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the game where they had Rougned Odor, Robinson Chirinos, I want to say Ryan McKenna, and Brett Phillips, all in the lineup batting 6 through 9. Those are the bottom 4 hitters in their lineup. Mateo was batting 5th in that lineup. Mateo and Taron Vavra batted 3rd that day, by the way. That was a decision where, look, the Blue Jays, who were right in front of you for the wild card, they were busy sweeping the Oakland Athletics. And you were busy losing a 3rd game when you should have been sweeping the Pittsburgh Pirates with a day off the next day, and you're playing those 4 guys in the bottom of your lineup. It was stuff like that pisses me off, and I have no tolerance.
He will not apologize for it.
Yeah, I won't. Sorry, I know that's really long-winded, and I've gone off on tangents in the past about this, but I love this freaking team. I love this team. I love the energy that they have in the clubhouse. I've never been in the clubhouse, but I love the energy that they have in the dugout, on the field. They have each other's backs. They love each other. And one thing I will say that I love about Brandon Hyde is that he gets these guys to play for him, and he'll go to war for his guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about Brandon Hyde. But, man, this team's fun. Man, this team is a lot of fun. And if they continue what they're doing right now, some of these guys start to heat up, and I think Gunner's on the cusp of having a really hot stretch. And Rutschman's going to break out in a big way sooner rather than later. When I say in a big way, he already did, but he's in a slump right now. He's going to break out, I think, maybe as soon as today. Really excited for what this team can do, and they need to play this baseball right now, because that stretch in May and then in July, really difficult.
Yeah,
really difficult stretch of baseball. Anyway, I'm sorry, what were we going to say?
My first time, by the way, seeing the Felix Bautista light show last night when he came in, and the Omar whistle they do before that was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about this team being fun, that's what comes to my mind.
Yeah,
that was
cool.
Awesome.
That's cool. And Adam Frazier in place of Rougned Odor. Look, Frazier's batting like 240.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, he makes contact.
He does.
There was not
great at-bats. Great at-bats.
Takes great at-bats. He struck out twice last night, and you're like, holy crap, he struck.
He just doesn't do that, yeah.
He's walked more than he struck out. 2 strikeouts in a game for Adam Frazier, it would be like me going 2 for 4 in a big league game. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So let's get back to Take to Rake here before we catch our final break. So Steve Molesky, we said he won last week. He took Austin Hayes. Again, 6 for 20, triple home run walk, 2 RBIs, 3 runs, 6 Ks, 300, 333, 550, 883 slash line. Zach, you took Adley Rutschman in his worst week since he first came up.
That's sure to happen to Zach Goodman.
1 for 19, 4 walks, an RBI, 5 Ks. I took Gunnar Henderson, 4 for 14, a double, 3 walks, an RBI, 4 runs, 3 Ks, 286, 412, 357, 769 slash line. So we let Steve Molesky. We let Dan Connolly pick first, and Steve won. The updated standings, I have 2 wins. Zach has 1. And Steve Molesky has 1. Our guests overall have 1.
2, 1, and 1.
So Dan Connolly has taken Cedric Mullins for this week. After some thought, I'm going to take Adley Rutschman. And it's not because he's Adley Rutschman. If he was just doing what Adley normally would be doing, I would probably have taken, I don't know. I was actually thinking Anthony Santander because I think he's starting to swing a little bit better. But I think Adley's going to break out this coming week again. I think he's going to get back on track. So I'm taking Adley Rutschman.
I'm going to go to Jorge Mateo.
Jorge Mateo?
Coming back today. Hopefully stays healthy through the week. We'll have to hope for that. But I believe in Mateo. Believer. So I'll go with that.
Okay. And then Zach takes Jorge.
That's one way to put it.
All right. Take the Rake in the bag for right now. Take the Rake has been brought to you by Pressbox's Glenn Clark Radio, which is still the definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. Watch the show every weekday from 10 to noon at youtube.com/PressboxOnline or facebook.com/PressboxSports or listen at PressboxOnline.com/radio. With podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcast, you have no reason not to check out Glenn Clark Radio, and you never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys caught up with Orioles pitcher Mike Baumann, top prospect Heston Kjerstad, the pitching ninja Rob Friedman, and Maryland wide receiver Tyrese Chambers. You can find those interviews and more right now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressboxOnline.com. Taking our final break. When we come back in, the Bet Around and final thoughts. That's next on the Bet Around.
Baseball season is finally here, and what better way to celebrate than with some fresh gear from Birdland Sports? As a small business run by O's fans, Birdland Sports offers a great selection of unofficial merchandise, including unique designs like Birds Are Coming tees, player cartoon shirts, and championship prediction designs. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. Get high-quality gear without breaking the bank. So whether you're heading to the ballpark or watching from home, show your love for the birds with Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com today to browse their collection and gear up for the season. Let's go O's!
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick Jackson Holiday and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, and Bo Smolka breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Harford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Harford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The national championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
Welcome back to the Bat Around. The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at pipeline of talent still to come for the Orioles, diving in on last year's #1 pick, Jackson Holiday, and other top prospects like Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and more. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles Orioles pitcher Kyle Gibson, who goes today for the Orioles, and Bo Smolka profiles and breaks down what progress would mean for the team's 2022 draft picks in their second pro seasons. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. You are muted.
I was muted. PressBoxOnline.com. I'm trying .com. All right, so time for the bet around. Last week on the bet around, we told you to take Ryan Mountcastle at plus 340 to homer and plus 750 to hit the first home run. That was a miss. He went 0 for 6. We said to take said to take the over on 9 runs at minus 115. That hit. Orioles lost 7-6 in 10 innings. So that's 13 runs. So on the year, we have 3 hits. We have 4 misses. Today, I'm telling you to take. Hang on. I'm telling you to take in the Yankees-Blue Jays game the over on 7 runs. Now, you would, and that's at minus 120. You would think that the under would hit because it's Alek Manoah going up against Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays have 6 guys on their team. In not a small sample size. The small sample size of all those is 6 at bats. Mm-hmm. 6 guys that are hitting 333 or better against Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
He has a .95 ERA and like a .76 WHIP this year.
Yeah.
Through 4 starts. he's due for a blow-up. Garrett Cole's good for a blow-up. The Yankees lost 6-1 to the Blue Jays last night. I think that they're going to torch him for 5 runs.
Okay.
Manoah will probably give up a couple of runs himself. I think the over on 7 runs is a lock.
What's the over-under on the Rays-White Sox game with McClanahan and Cease going? Because I would take the under on that. I would think the over-under would be like 6 because of how good those two guys have been.
You were really affecting me doing my stuff for the Orioles game. But the over-under is 7 runs.
Okay, yeah. So I
would take the under.
You got to take the under on that.
Absolutely hammer the under on that.
But the White Sox bullpen is a travesty, though. It is so if they get to the bullpen and Dylan Cease is out after 7 innings or 6 innings even, you may be able to do some damage. So I don't know.
Yeah, the Rays have the best offense in baseball to this point right now.
Which is wild to say.
It's crazy to
but
me.
They do.
But, man, I do not like these pitcher props. Like, I just don't like them. Like, I don't care about Kyle Gibson's strikeouts because he's not a strikeout pitcher. I don't know.
By the way, there's also a bet that goes around a lot. No runs first inning is a pretty popular one. No runs first inning, McClanahan and Cease. I think that's pretty.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good bet. And these two guys are the best of the best. They really are. Shane McClanahan, by the way, is off to a really good start. Not a lot of people are talking about it. Probably because he's a Rays pitcher, and Rays pitchers just don't get the coverage because they're all so good. They're always so good, and it's just kind of expected at this point. If a Rays pitcher pitches well, it's, it gets swept under the rug. But if a Yankees pitcher pitches well, then the whole world gets to hear about it. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah, well, I was trying to find something on like innings pitched by Kyle Gibson because we've seen the Orioles starters get so deep the last 3 starts, and I think that he's gonna continue.
I think he's good for 6 today
on that. But there's the over or the under on Kyle Gibson with strikeouts today. The over at plus 114 of 5.5 strikeouts going against the Detroit Tigers. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take minus 146 on under 5.5 strikeouts for minus 146, 5.5 strikeouts for what's his name? For Kyle Gibson. And then Joey Wentz. I wanted to take a prop on him walking guys, but I don't think he's going to do that either. I don't think that there's a prop for that either. So let's see. Let's do the bottom of the first pitch result. Taken strike, swinging strike, foul, ball hit by pitch. I'm going to take plus 105 that the first pitch is a ball from Joey Wentz.
Okay.
Plus 105. First pitch ball.
Joey Wentz, I mean, if you look at the numbers this year so far, he is walking 4.3 per 9. So that's not a horrible bet there.
And actually, it literally just moved up to plus 110.
Okay.
In that split second. Extra base hit plus 4,700. So if you bet $100, you win $4,700 if the first pitch is an extra base hit. Cedric Mullins, do you think he's due for a first pitch home run tonight?
No, I don't like that.
See, that's the type of stuff that freaking tantalizes me.
That's when, I don't bet on baseball, but when I bet on football over the fall, which wasn't much because I'm not a big betting guy, but I did make some bets given press boxes offers. They were fantastic. I took advantage of them. And the bets I made, a lot of them were, I saw a lot of the different possibilities I could do, and it was like touchdown on the first drive, or in the first 3 plays there will be a touchdown, and you could win $65,000 if you put $100 on it or something. And these ridiculous odds, and some of those are just a little too risky, and that's one of them. I think an extra base hit, probably not. Not.
You know what though? Joey Wentz is a left-handed pitcher, so Cedric Mullins isn't going to lead off today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Although no, he's
last night he had a double off a lefty though.
Yeah, he's been actually really good.
He was on base at least 3 times last night, I believe.
Well, that's what he's been doing recently. But let me go back to this because I saw this. I had a reply to somebody on this last night. Let me see. Cedric Mullins is now 7 for 19 with 1 home run, 2 doubles, 5 walks, and 2 Ks for his left-handed pitchers this season.
Okay.
I think you could see Austin Hayes lead off the game today even still.
Okay.
But I'd be willing to throw $10 on plus 4,700 for the first pitch to be an extra base hit if it were Cedric Mullins leading off. Austin Hayes, first pitch, he's probably going to check swing
Probably
on a slider
probably
out of
gonna
the
check
zone
swing.
for a strike.
If Austin Hayes isn't check swinging 3 times in that bat, it's not Austin Hayes you're watching.
Yeah,
He doesn't.
and he has been phenomenal.
He has been.
This year.
He has been.
You have got to keep him out.
By the way, you mentioned the juice ball earlier. I think that home run he hit last night was a product of that. That ball off the bat, when I watched it the game, I thought that was a fly out. I thought he was going to get close to the warning track, but I thought it just kept carrying. It just kept carrying.
From what I saw on the as soon as he hit it, I said, "Oh, that's gone."
Really?
As,
Okay.
As soon as he hit it,
maybe it was the angle I was at, but it did not look like a home run to me.
The sound off the bat was freaking awesome.
He threw the bat too. It was amazing.
The way it came off his bat, the trajectory of it off his bat, and his reaction, all this happened in a split second. My initial reaction was, "Oh, that's gone," and then and maybe you were fooled by the outfielder because I was fooled a little bit by the outfielder because I'm watching. It was Riley Green.
Yeah,
I'm watching him run back, and it looked like he had a beat on it.
Exactly.
It looked like he had a beat on it, and then it was like, no. I'm watching. I'm like, he hit the ball better than that for this ball to be called at the wall. And then I saw him start to pick up the pace and go for the leap, and it was like, no, that ball's gone. I thought they were going to win that game 1-0.
And it was well gone, too. I mean, they were 1 out away from that. They were 1 strike away from that. Javi Baez did his thing. Javi Baez.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The Orioles, you remember they won 4 games 1-0 last year?
Yeah.
And they had 10 shutouts as a team last year.
The bullpen was just so good last year.
The bullpen, you know what, though? The bullpen's just as good this year.
So far.
And people don't realize that because the bullpen was so bad and so shaky to start the year. But that bullpen ERA last year, I think, was 3.42. It was like 3.65, I think, going into last night's game.
To be honest, though, I think the bullpen should be good in April, should be good in May, should be good in June. It's those later months when they start to get more tired, they start to get a lot of innings under their belt that the Orioles held up last year, they've got to hold up this year. That's the big test.
And see, the thing is, they're going into the last handful of games. They were 3rd in baseball in innings pitched coming out of their bullpen this year.
Yeah,
that's got to change. But that's also one of the reasons that you send down Cole Irvin. One of the reasons that you're giving these guys a little bit shorter release. Brandon Hyde said, I can't keep taking my guys out in the 5th inning. Right now, you have potential for 4 straight starts of your starting pitcher going 6 innings or more. If Kyle Gibson comes out and does what we think he can do, what he's done pretty much all year. If Kyle Gibson goes 6, 7 innings today, and then you have Grayson Rodriguez tomorrow, I don't anticipate Grayson Rodriguez going more than 5 innings tomorrow.
No, I don't either.
But they have a really good opportunity here, and they have a really good chance with this rotation for that trend to continue.
Yeah.
Because I think that Kramer, Bradish, and Wells, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. I think that Kramer really needed that start. Bradish, I expected it because I think Bradish is just nasty.
Oh, yeah.
I think Kyle Bradish, and this is my final thought, I think that Kyle Bradish is just absolutely nasty. For him to throw a shutout the other day, I saw that coming. I saw it coming. Tyler Wells, Tyler Wells is giving you probably 6 innings of anywhere from no run to 3-run ball just about every time out. Dean Kramer's a wild card in there. He was really good down the stretch last year, and he was really good on Tuesday. Is he going to continue that, or is he going to revert? I think that's a game where
I'm not confident in Dean Kramer right now. I can't.
That's a start to the game that gives him confidence.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And the difference between 2021 Dean Kramer and 2023 Dean Kramer is in 2021, Dean Kramer never gave you any hint that even against the bad teams he could do what he did on Tuesday.
Yeah. Right.
Tuesday, he looked like the 2022 version.
He did.
He never looked like that in 2021. So I think maybe he's the 5th best starter on this team, but I think he's good enough to give you 150 innings of 4.2 baseball.
Okay.
4.2 ERA.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And Grayson, I'm telling you, man, he's going to be their best starter by the middle of the season.
I still think Bradish. Bradish or Wells. Bradish is so nasty, and Wells, it's not really the stuff for Wells. I mean, the changeup was really good last night, don't get me wrong, but it's the whole package for Wells. I mean, the intimidation factor of him being 6'7", 6'8", the intimidation factor of having a fastball that's 95, 96 out of a starter's hand consistently, and then the changeup was really good.
He doesn't walk guys.
Throws strikes, attacks hitters. A lot to love about Tyler Wells. I don't know. I still think Grayson is going to have a rough year for the most part. From what I've seen so far, I think there will be some growing pains for him. Yeah. But I'm not ready to say he will be their best starter. I think Kyle Bradish might even be in the long term better than Grayson Rodriguez. What we're seeing right now, Kyle Bradish is excellent. Excellent. And he has been for a long stretch now. There hasn't been a game for a while where we've said Kyle Bradish looks bad. He has been excellent. And Matt Blood, we heard him talk about it. I think he even said it on the show when we had him on, that Kyle Bradish is right up there with those guys. Right up there. And he's showing it.
Yeah.
He's showing it.
Is that your final thought, Kyle Bradish, just the tits?
Wow. We're making some wild references in the show the past few weeks. But yeah, Kyle Bradish is...
The cat's meow, the bee's knees.
There you go. Cat's meow, bee's knees. He's been excellent. And the stuff is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And as long as he keeps throwing strikes, he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's really good. And honestly, you can make... It's funny because Kyle Gibson just looks like that guy where nothing he does impresses you, but then he's got 6 innings, a 2-run ball under his belt. But he gets that fastball up there to like 94.
He can, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea he threw that hard. Yeah. So, look... Kyle Gibson might end up being your 4th or 5th best starter, and that's pretty damn good when you look at this team as a whole. All right, thank you to Stan the Fan Charles for his weekly segment. Thank you for Dan Connolly. Thank you to Dan Connolly for taking 10 minutes out of his busy schedule to join us here on the Bat Around. Thanks to Zach for all the work that he does producing and co-hosting the show. Thank you to our fans for tuning in and listening. AJ, we're looking at you, buddy, for tuning in every week. And thanks to our sponsors. Without our fans, we do not have a show. And no thanks to me. This is a thankless job. So,
thank you to Paul Valley for putting on another fantastic show.
Finally, where's Miami?
Well, if you look under that book, you've got a little present over there. So it wasn't for me, but someone appreciates you. So there you go.
Are these for me?
I guess.
I don't know. I don't want to take them. They don't have my name on them.
Well, I got one too, so I don't know.
But these were here last week too.
Oh, were they? Okay. Then I don't know.
I don't know if these are for me or not. I'll have to ask John. If they're for me, that's cool. That's cool. Glory Days has some great